These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are Gabi.com. Gabi takes the pain out of shopping for insurance. More info at Gabi.com/Tom. Teeth, Smarter Pet Dental Help. More info at teethhealth.com, code TOM. HelloFresh, delivering fresh ingredients and mouthwatering recipes. More info at hellofresh.com, code TOM. Bowl and Branch, crafted for the common good. More information at bowlandbranch.com, code TOM. ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More info at expressvpn.com/Tom. And CB Distillery, CBD for sleeping. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM.
We say fight back!
So it's Friday. It's the last day. It's your last chance. I got an email in the mail this morning because I'm signed up as a donor to Free Speech TV. And if you are, you probably got the same email. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And I thought it was just so brilliantly written and so from the heart that I wanted to share it with you because this is how I feel about Free Speech TV. This is a really important television network, and we really need to keep it alive. Anyhow, here's what Howard said. He said, I've been around a long time. Many years ago, I put up the very first matching donation ever for Free Speech TV. In 2006, when my wife Lynn passed away, I gave a gift in her honor. There's a plaque honoring her at the Free Speech TV studio in sunny Denver, Colorado to this day. I wonder, does Free Speech TV mean to you what it does to me? And then he talks about the pledge drive and asks people to make a donation. And then he continues, he says, so since the first time I promised to double your donations many years ago, other viewers have stepped up as well to put on match days and challenges to inspire people like you to invest in Free Speech TV as well. Now, we even have a name. We're the Frontline Funders. Our role is to amplify your impact. This is more important than ever these days, writes Howard. That's because white supremacy continues to rear its ugly head. But our movement is stronger and broader. We must hold the Biden-Harris administration accountable and push for progressive policies that will dismantle the insidious oppression and racism that runs deep in our society. I always figured you have to start somewhere. For me, the place to start was with independent media. Independence means working toward what objectively is true, writes Howard. Putting my support toward Free Speech TV was a no-brainer. With Amy Goodman and Thom Hartmann and all the other Free Speech TV hosts working hard to find, and thank you, Howard, working hard to find and report the truth, the non-corporate, independent nature of Free Speech TV, not to mention the network's national reach, made it just the bullhorn needed. That's why I've supported Free Speech TV as much as I can throughout the years. Free Speech TV is my community, writes Howard. I promise your funds will be put hard to work to serve our mission for a more just, equitable, and sustainable world. You'll be making a difference in the lives of so many people. This is your last chance to donate to Free Speech TV's Spring Pledge Drive. I hope you're inspired to give during this week's $10,000 challenge. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And he's absolutely right. This is the last day of the last week it's the end of the Spring Pledge Drive. If you have not given before, we are still behind. We need your help, especially if you've never contributed to free speech before. Please call now, 877-378-8669, and become a member of Free Speech TV. Become a funder of Free Speech TV. And you will be matched by these frontline funders like Howard. There's this $10,000 waiting if we can hit our goal here from Howard. So this is a big deal, and it's an important time to give. I think I've made my case throughout the last 3 weeks of what a challenge this last year and a half or so has been for Free Speech TV. They need your help right now. With the $20 one-time gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Free Speech TV Wildflower Seed Pack. With the $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV webcam cover or the tote bag. With the $75 gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann Program official mug or the Free Speech TV hat. These are great gifts, by the way. With the $100 gift, you get a set of 2 Free Speech TV face masks. With a $120 gift, you have a choice of 3 things: the Grow Social Change box, the Wildflower Seed box, the Windowsill Herb Garden, the new tote, and the sunglasses, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, so you can become a one-person publicist, when you go out, or a copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, autographed by the author. With a $240 gift, you have a choice. You can get both of my most recent books, The Hidden History of Oligarchy and The Hidden History of Monopoly, autographed by the author, or you can participate with us in our online meet and greet, our Zoom call, where we all get together and just chat about what's going on and what's on your mind. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Spring Box. That's the bumper sticker, the free speech bumper sticker, the Thom Hartmann bumper sticker, the seeds, the wildflower seeds, the herb garden, the window herb garden, the tote bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV sunglasses, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, Reclaiming Our Democracy from the Ruling Class. And with a $1,000 gift, come to our in-person meet and greet here in Portland. Come visit us and hang out with us for the last hour of the show. And you meet Sean, you meet Nate, you meet me, and we're pretty much the ones who are, physically here. Occasionally Chase or Louise or somebody else will drop by. So that's what it is, and this is the last day. And please, last chance, call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you like Free Speech TV and hopefully this program, and make your contribution.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Hey. Shabbat Shalom, Juma Mubarak, TGIF. It is Friday. It's Anything Goes Friday. There are a couple of things that I just wanted to draw to your attention before we just get into it. And by the way, the second hour of our program today, the entire hour, will be the Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. One of the big cheeses in Washington, D.C., Congressman Ro Khanna, will be taking your calls for the entire hour in the second hour of our program today. He represents California in the U.S. House of Representatives, or at least that part of California that is generally referred to as Silicon Valley, just south of San Francisco. So that's our day. There's two stories that I wanted to just point out because I think that they are probably among the most underreported pieces of larger stories. There's a media narrative, and I'll just lay these on you, and then I'll pick up your phone calls. For the rest of the hour. First of all, there's a media narrative out there that Anthony Fauci and Rand Paul yesterday, and it's true, yesterday in testimony before the Senate, Rand Paul said basically to Fauci, I've had COVID. I'm a doctor. And he is. I don't know if, I believe he's an MD ophthalmologist. So in any case, I'm pretty sure, or maybe he's an optometrist. I'm not sure. In any case, Rand Paul is saying, I've had COVID, and once you've had a disease like this, you're immune, and so isn't wearing a mask just theater, for me to wear a mask. And you've been fully immunized, and yet you're wearing a mask. That's just theater, right? And Fauci said, no, it's not right. And Paul tried to talk over him, and then Fauci comes out and says this. And this is the thing that shocked me when I heard Fauci say it. I mean, shocked me. And this should be the top headline. Fauci said in the South African study conducted by Johnson & Johnson, they found that people who were infected with the wild type, that's the original COVID, and were exposed to the 351 variant in South Africa, it was as if they had never been infected before. They had no protection. You get this? Fauci yesterday announced to Rand Paul, basically what he was saying to Rand Paul was, you think you're safe because you've gotten COVID and you've recovered from it? There's a South African variant that is coming that will take you down, Rand Paul. And I'm thinking that could be true of anybody else too, right? I mean, we're seeing right now this surge in infection that's sweeping across Europe. And some of that is that South African variant. I've not seen any good numbers on this. But if what he said is 100% true, and again, why is this not the biggest headline out there? If what he said is 100% true, then first of all, you have to question even whether the vaccine will protect you from the South African variant or how effectively it will. But we do know, I mean, the body's immune system is really finely calibrated. And apparently having regular COVID, the body zeroes in on some part of the COVID, probably its DNA, but maybe some protein on its surface. The body zeroes in on some part of it that is different in the South African variant. Now, the question is, with the vaccines, now with the RNA virus vaccines, the Pfizer and Moderna shots, what they do is they cause the body to produce proteins that are similar to some of the parts of the spike protein on the virus. Now, that may not be how our normal immune system works. And if that's the case, then cool. That means that those vaccines will probably give you immunity to the South African variant, even though your normal immune system, Rand Paul's immune system, wouldn't. And we don't know about the Johnson & Johnson, which is using an adenovirus, basically a common cold virus, to transmit little bits of DNA into cells that will, make more of that will produce an immune response. They're kind of more of a traditional vaccine kind of thing. But this was the J&J studies where they were finding that its efficacy was reduced substantially when confronted with the South African virus. But more importantly, people like Rand Paul, who think they're immune because they got the virus, are not immune at all to the South African variant, which means that the vaccine is a much better way of getting immunity than getting sick, which is kind of the opposite of what they're saying over on Fox News. Why is nobody pointing this out? Or am I missing something here? I really don't think I am. It's just like, nuance is something that just doesn't get done. Anyhow, there's a couple other stories. I'll get to them as we continue through the program. But I know that there's a whole bunch of folks who are on hold and want to hop in here and have their say and share their thoughts. So, Jerry in San Francisco. Jerry, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Can you hear me?
Just fine, Jerry.
Okay, great. I had a...
For the record, by the way, typically when people say, "Can you hear me?" I immediately put them on hold so that Joyce can double check and make sure that there's not a problem. So be careful about saying that.
Sure. My speaker on my phone got stuck, and I usually can flip it off, so that's why I was... anyway.
Okay.
Anyway,
go ahead, Jerry.
I was going to say, I've been listening to the Chauvin jury selection, and I can't really make heads or tails of it if it's fair or not fair. I've heard different opinions of civil rights attorneys talking about it. But it did make me think about the last time I was on a jury was about 5 years ago in San Francisco. And I was sitting there. We almost had the jury completed. There was one African-American woman on it, one Asian woman, and everybody else was white and male. And we hadn't seen the defendant yet. And African-American woman asked if she could be excused. She had 3 kids and worked 3 separate jobs. And the judge kept on talking about a jury of your peers and blah, blah, blah. And finally he said, "Okay, listen, I'll release you." She was replaced by a white male. Another woman on there was an Asian woman who said she can speak English, she can listen, but she has a very difficult time with some accents. And she's afraid that she'd miss a lot of the dialogue or testimony. So she was released, and so we ended up with all white, probably 10-2, and nobody under 30, as I remember. And then the defendant was brought in, and the judge asked everybody to stand. And the defense attorney leaned over and whispered in the defendant's ear, who happened to be a young African-American man, and he turned around to greet us, to say hello. And he looked at us, and it was like he looked like a scared 10-year-old kid. He just looked. Then talked to his lawyer, and the judge said we're going to have a recess. When the judge came back about 5 minutes later, he says, "You're excused. That we've come to a decision or a deal that
he pled out.
The prosecution as well as the defense. So as we begin to walk out, the woman ahead of me was in the jury, taps another guy and says, "Boy, I'm glad we got released. I could never understand a black man's speech." So when you talk about jurors of your peers or an impartial jury, I don't think we're going to, there's a mixed juror right now, jury on with Chauvin.
Which is probably a good thing. But, at the end of the day, Jerry, we're just all humans. I mean, thank you for the story. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Pro tip for calling into a talk show: make your biggest point first and then fill in the details afterwards. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Ed in Binghamton, New York. Hey, Ed, what's on your mind today?
Hi. Last time I called was when you had brunch with Bernie during the Deepwater Horizon Gulf disaster. So I'm calling to say Biden's Build Back Better needs to include Medicare for all, because naturally it's great for people, but also it would help small businesses recover and let small businesses start up too. And I hope unions see, the wisdom in Medicare for all. And I only speak from having a small business for 30 years and provide health care insurance, but it was always a challenge. And I always had a problem also providing a retirement plan too. So that's basically it. Plus, people like to use the word welfare when talking about programs, and I think it should be now called human well-being, so welfare isn't the trigger word.
Yeah, well, the Republicans will continue to use those words, but Ed, well said. If it turns out that they can't get, now you've got Dianne Feinstein going, well, I kind of like the filibuster. And of course, Manchin and Sinema. Jim Clyburn a couple days ago, or yesterday, I guess it was, said, who put Manchin and Sinema in charge, and why are they more important than Warnock and Ossoff? Which is a really damn good question. But if it turns out that they're not able to reform the filibuster, they may well have to push that massive construction, the Build Back Better program through via reconciliation. And reconciliation requires that everything in the bill have to do with the federal budget. It can have a negative impact, it can have a positive impact, it doesn't matter, but it has to have something to do with spending. And the so-called Byrd rule. And so, if they can't fix anything, then and they try to do the Build Back Better, putting Medicare for all into it seems to me like that would be consistent with reconciliation. The problem that they're facing is that only half the Democratic caucus signed on to this most recent incarnation that was introduced by Representative Jayapal earlier this week. And typically, if you don't have 200 Democratic co-sponsors, it's not going to make it through the House. And so there's some work to do. And I think the principal work that needs to be done, Ed, is by people like you and me. We need to be calling our Democratic elected representatives. I know for sure there's one here in Oregon who does not support Medicare for all. We've got one of those conservadems or whatever you want to call them, who represents the south end of Portland. Doesn't represent me, but and I haven't, I should go through, this is something I haven't done, I'll say it right up front. I call, 202-224-3121 and call each one of our 5 U.S. representatives here from Oregon. I know the Republican is going to say no. I know this one conservadem is going to say no. I don't know about the other 3. And I'm pretty sure Peter DeFazio will say yes, and I'm guessing Earl Blumenauer will say yes, and the last guy, I can't recall his name. He doesn't represent me. But we need to be calling these people and saying, Medicare for all is coming up. Medicare for all is a possibility. Why aren't you supporting Medicare for all? This is stuff, and your credential as a business owner, Ed, is a great one. And so, calling, making that point, tweeting at them. They all have campaign, or they all have Twitter accounts, and they're very sensitive to public opprobrium. So go for it. Ed, thank you for the call. And thanks for listening all the way back to the days of Brunch with Bernie. We'll be right back coming up on 20 minutes past the hour. My Hidden History series has been growing. So far, I've taken on guns, the Supreme Court, voting, monopolies, and oligarchy. They're available wherever fine books are sold. So the Republican Party has sold themselves way back, all the way back to the 60s, really, as the serious party. We're the party of issues. We take stuff seriously. We have serious policy analysis. We have serious constitutional analysis. We are serious about the economy. We have all these think tanks, Heritage and Competitive Enterprise and Cato, and we've got the Federalist Society finding serious judges that we can put on the federal bench, and in response to 4 dead Americans, they got real serious. 5 House committees, 2 Senate committees. They created a separate House Select Committee for 4 dead Americans. That was Benghazi. Thousands of hours of testimony. The Secretary of State testifying for 8 hours straight. But when 5 people die at the Capitol, not so much. Got a new video about it over at ThomHartmann.com. Of course it's not. Welcome back. 21 minutes past the hour. It's Anything Goes Friday here on the Thom Hartmann Program. And Rob in Mount Iron, Minnesota. Hey, Rob, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Good morning. It's where just wanted to point out one thing. The last 2 words on your program yesterday, after you got done talking with the clinical psychologist, it's where I think you said something to the point where the people out there that are following the Republican power were emotionally, what was
immature.
The last word? Okay, yeah, but the whole thing is where I've used the words mentally ill, which are the same things when I look at the TV and I see those scenes from January the 6th. That was where, this is what we have in our country right now. 70+ million people that are following this kind of a thought. Could you expand on this? And how do we finally counter this?
Well, I think what, you used the word "this" a whole bunch of times, Rob. I think that what you're talking about, the emotional immaturity of the Republicans, is on huge display. This was the op-ed that I published just a few hours ago at HartmannReport.com. It's called, Here Come the Meat Wars. And sure enough, in Colorado, the governor, Jared Polis, has proclaimed day after tomorrow. And it's just one of those, like National Wildflower Day proclamations, right? Governors do 50, 60 of these a year. You just sign something and, hey, it's be kind to your pet day. And this was calling for March 20th to be a day that Coloradans refrain from eating meat. One day out of the year, right? And the meat industry, and Lauren Boebert, the gun-toting QAnon representative from Colorado, she has now called for Sunday to be statewide barbecue beef day. And the beef council's all hysterical and all this. And this is what politicians do when they don't want people to pay attention to the important stuff that they're actually doing. The Republican Party, even in Colorado, it wants to suppress people's votes, wants to keep health care away from people, wants to pollute the air and the water, et cetera, et cetera. They don't give a rat's ass about public health in Colorado. If they did, they wouldn't have fought so hard to prevent, to block efforts to keep cigarettes away from teenagers. I realize that was 15, 20 years ago, but the war, the war against vending machines and all that kind of stuff. The Republicans, they manufacture fake outrage out of everything in order to avoid talking about what's really important. And I'm not sure if you can call that emotional immaturity or just
we just really have a big problem out there as far as most of the people out there that are voting this way as far as Republicans. Rand Paul with this guy yesterday, Mr. Fauci, it's where, under the circumstances, it was where he wanted to be able to take and talk over Dr. Fauci. And the whole thing is where, let's face it, it's where there are certain people that have a lot of respect out there. And I have respect for Dr. Fauci, but none for Rand Paul.
Yeah, and Rand Paul was trying to take him down a notch, and it didn't quite work out the way that he wanted. Rob, thank you for the call. Josh in Cincinnati, Ohio, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing? Big fan. I've been listening to download your show from the White Rose Society. I had a quick point and a comment.
Cool.
The first one was, you remember after 9/11, we had the color-coded scheme for terrorist threats. I think we need to bring that back. So, if we have to close the Capitol on the 6th because we're afraid of it being taken over by GOP right-wing, crazies, we should have a color warning system for that.
That's a great idea. Today is an orange day for white supremacist, terror threats. Today is a red day for white supremacist terror threats in Washington, D.C. It's only a yellow day for white supremacist terror threats in Wyoming.
Right.
It's Denver just raised their white supremacist terrorist threat. Yeah, I'm with you, Josh.
And then my second thing was, I listened to your rant the other day on cancel culture, and I completely agree with it. But if you take a step back and look at when this kind of started, it seemed like it was when a company did something dumb, said something about women or gay people or whatever, and then, people got together and kind of fought them, boycotted them, dogged them on social media. I think that's democracy. And, a billionaire spending $200 million on advertising, that's not democracy. So I'd like to see us frame the cancel culture more as democracy, possibly.
Yeah. We need to be, by we, I'm talking about large D Democrats and small D Democrats, people who believe in this idea that this country was founded on, which was a radical concept in the 1770s. There hadn't been a functioning democracy in the world in thousands of years. And this radical idea that people can choose their own leaders and that those leaders will work on behalf of the people. Now, the core of that is the idea that the majority rules, that 50% plus one is what it takes to define what's going to be the future going forward. And of course, they blew that up in the Senate. John C. Calhoun blew that up in the Senate when he introduced the filibuster in the 1830s. And so the Senate is not small d Democratic. And we have this democracy crisis. We've got an entire political party, the Republican Party, that since 1980, when Paul Rayrick made his famous speech down in Dallas to the so-called Christian Republicans, saying that, quite frankly, our leverage in the elections goes up as the voting populace goes down. Right. We've had a democracy crisis in this country, and having an entire political party devoted to ending democracy, not a good thing for a democracy. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
And our caller is absolutely, I think it was Ed, is absolutely right. We do need to be pointing this out and calling it democracy. We'll be back with more of your calls right after this. So it's Friday. It's the last day. It's your last chance. I got an email in the mail this morning because I'm signed up as a donor to Free Speech TV. And if you are, you probably got the same email. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And I thought it was just so brilliantly written and so from the heart that I wanted to share it with you because this is how I feel about Free Speech TV. This is a really important television network, and we really need to keep it alive. Anyhow, here's what Howard said. He said, I've been around a long time. Many years ago, I put up the very first matching donation ever for Free Speech TV. In 2006, when my wife Lynn passed away, I gave a gift in her honor. There's a plaque honoring her at the Free Speech TV studio in sunny Denver, Colorado to this day. I wonder, does Free Speech TV mean to you what it does to me? And then he talks about the pledge drive and asks people to make a donation. And then he continues, he says, so since the first time I promised to double your donations many years ago, other viewers have stepped up as well to put on match days and challenges to inspire people like you to invest in Free Speech TV as well. Now, we even have a name. We're the Frontline Funders. Our role is to amplify your impact. This is more important than ever these days, writes Howard. That's because white supremacy continues to rear its ugly head. But our movement is stronger and broader. We must hold the Biden-Harris administration accountable and push for progressive policies that will dismantle the insidious oppression and racism that runs deep in our society. I always figured you have to start somewhere. For me, the place to start was with independent media. Independence means working toward what objectively is true, writes Howard. Putting my support toward Free Speech TV was a no-brainer, with Amy Goodman and Thom Hartmann and all the other Free Speech TV hosts working hard to find, and thank you, Howard, working hard to find and report the truth. The non-corporate, independent nature of Free Speech TV, not to mention the network's national reach, made it just the bullhorn needed. That's why I've supported Free Speech TV as much as I can throughout the years. Free Speech TV is my community, writes Howard. I promise your funds will be put hard to work to serve our mission for a more just, equitable, and sustainable world. You'll be making a difference in the lives of so many people. This is your last chance to donate to Free Speech TV's Spring Pledge Drive. I hope you're inspired to give during this week's $10,000 challenge. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And he's absolutely right. This is the last day of the last week of it's the end of the Spring Pledge Drive. If you have not given before, we are still behind. We need your help, especially if you've never contributed to free speech before. Please call now, 877-378-8669, and become a member of Free Speech TV. Become a funder of Free Speech TV. And you will be matched by these frontline funders like Howard. There's this $10,000 waiting if we can hit our goal here from Howard. So this is a big deal, and it's an important time to give. I think I've made my case throughout the last 3 weeks of what a challenge this last year and a half or so has been for Free Speech TV. They need your help right now. With the $20 one-time gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Free Speech TV Wildflower Seed Pack. With the $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV webcam cover or the tote bag. With the $75 gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann Program official mug or the Free Speech TV hat. These are great gifts, by the way. With the $100 gift, you get a set of 2 Free Speech TV face masks. With a $120 gift, you have a choice of 3 things: the Grow Social Change box, the Wildflower Seed box, the Windowsill Herb Garden, the new tote, and the sunglasses, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, so you can become a one-person publicist, when you go out, or a copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, autographed by the author. With a $240 gift, you have a choice. You can get both of my most recent books, The Hidden History of Oligarchy and The Hidden History of Monopoly, autographed by the author, or you can participate with us in our online meet and greet, our Zoom call, where we all get together and just, chat about what's going on and what's on your mind. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Spring Box. That's the bumper sticker, the free speech bumper sticker, the Thom Hartmann bumper sticker, the seeds, the wildflower seeds, the herb garden, the window herb garden, the tote bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV sunglasses, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, Reclaiming Our Democracy from the Ruling Class. And with a $1,000 gift, come to our in-person meet and greet here in Portland. Come visit us and hang out with us for the last hour of the show, and you meet Sean, you meet Nate, you meet me, and we're pretty much the ones who are, physically here. Occasionally Chase or Louise or somebody else will drop by. So that's what it is, and this is the last day. And please, last chance, call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you like Free Speech TV and hopefully this program, and make your contribution. On the Science Revolution this week, Beyond Nuclear's Kevin Camps drops by. On the 10th anniversary of the Fukushima crisis, just like the COVID pandemic, opinion on Fukushima is split between those who are horrified by the health risks and those who are worried about the economic damage that nuclear power does. Investigative journalist Greg Palast drops by on how Stacey Abrams is showing real courage in Georgia with her opposition to the Vogtle nuclear plant, the last and only nuclear plant under construction in the U.S. She opposes charging Georgians ruinous electric bills to finish it. Also in Geeky Science, good news on CBD. There's a new report out showing it reduces plaque and improves cognition in rats with Alzheimer's, and hopefully soon studies will start on humans. Tune into the Science Revolution wherever fine podcasts are available. Welcome back to Anything Goes Friday here on the Thom Hartmann Program. 34 minutes past the hour. Samuel in Santa Ana, California. Hey, Samuel, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Before I don't want to get into the weeds here, but I have one sentence comment before I say what I was going to say. I have, and this is between me, you, and Senator Paul, I have a friend who's had COVID 3 times. So just wanted to tell you
Wow.
that. Yes,
Seriously?
Yes. Seriously.
Yeah, see, that's not supposed to be possible, but I'm guessing that your friend had COVID once and it never successfully went away. And because this is like the long haul syndrome. You know, we had a guy call into the show 2 weeks ago, and he said he just got his vaccine, and he'd had this long haul thing going on for 7-8 months, and it instantly went away. And now the New York Times is reporting that this is a common thing, that apparently some people's immune system just can't fight off the virus, and so it comes and goes and lingers and whatnot. And the shot gives your immune system enough of a kick in the ass that it finally evicts the virus. So maybe your friend should get a vaccine.
Yeah, but anyway, the thing I was calling to tell you, though, was Gandhi in 1930, he did the salt march where he made salt, and there were too many people to arrest. I'm looking at Georgia as something similar. I would love to see, and I want to hear you comment on this, I would love to see the people in Georgia bring 3 bottles of water when it's time to vote. One for themselves, one for the person in line in front of them, one for the person in line in back of them. Your thoughts?
Wow. Yeah. Bring a bottle of water as a protest. Bring extra bottles of water to share with people, and if enough, it would take it would have to be. I mean, in this day and age, it's a lot harder to message things like that than Gandhi had a local community, and everybody knew everybody by and large. And that was, the opposition to the British law that said that you couldn't manufacture salt in India. You had to ship the raw salt up to India, and then they would ship back the refined salt. It was all to keep British jobs. But yeah, that would be the perfect kind of thing for a church to do, in the Souls to the Polls context, where you've got everybody on the bus and you can hand out 3 bottles of water to every person on the bus, and then they all go stand in line. I think it's a great idea, Samuel. Hopefully somebody listening can do something about it, can take it and run with it. I appreciate the call. That's a good one. Tom in Marquette, Michigan. Hey, Tom, how's Marquette? How are you? What's up?
Hey, Tom, it's sunny here today. It's pretty nice for day before spring starts. I, like you, went to Michigan State University for 1 term, so we're both alumni. And I'm calling specifically to discuss the Line 5 and the Line 3 oil pipelines coming down from Canada. The Line 5 goes underneath the Straits of Mackinac. Been there since before you were born and when I was born. And the plan is, by the oil company, is to put in a tunnel. And what has been happening is that Enbridge, is the company, has been going around to city council meetings and scaring people about the sudden shut-off of their natural gas if this Line 5 tunnel doesn't go through. Well, the Line 5 right now has been hit 3 different times by anchor strikes, and the company's response to that is, well, we're watching those ships now that come through. I don't know what they're looking for, but they're watching them from the shore, I guess. But this tunnel would ensure the use of fossil fuels for the indefinite future for the area. The response locally by the propane companies is that they already are preparing for a shutdown of Line 5, increasing their capacity in in the Upper Peninsula to store larger and larger amounts of liquid natural gas. So that's not really a threat that they can
a lot
back
of people
up.
in America are not familiar with this, Tom. I didn't even know about this until I lived in a rural area in New Hampshire, I think it was, and I grew up in Michigan. Because in the cities, most people are just hooked up to a gas main. But out in the country, you've got a tank. If you're using gas, you've got a tank in the back of your house, just like the old oil tanks. Only this is a tank that can hold pressurized gas, and a truck comes around every week and refills that. And that's an alternative to pipelines. It's arguably slightly less efficient, but on the other hand, it's not building out permanent, century-long lifed natural gas infrastructure. Back to you.
Well, I'm calling because this is a local issue here in the UP. It's a state issue all around the state. And it's a national and international issue because if there was a failure of Line 5 and they dumped 20 million gallons of oil like they did down in Kalamazoo River, the same company and bridge, and that's the largest oil spill in the United States ever, as far as I know, probably not counting the Gulf one. But
not offshore.
So it's an international and a global issue because of the guaranteeing of the investment in oil use, oil burning for the indefinite future. I'm an inventor.
So Tom, what's the issue here? Is it that the Michigan legislature has to approve this tunnel, or is it? I mean, is there an effort to stop it? Has it already been approved? What's the status? And I'd like to finish this quickly if I could, because we got a lot of other people that want to get in and talk about their issues.
Okay. The organization called FLOW is out of Traverse City, Michigan. It's the biggest citizens organization against it. Governor Whitmer has already ordered them to shut down Line 5 by May 5th. They say they don't have to do that, and the Premier of Canada, Mr. Trudeau, who we normally love, has said it's not negotiable. That's a quote from him. It's not negotiable.
Right.
Line 5 is not negotiable. And
it's a lot of money for Canada.
And it goes down through Michigan into Sarnia, Ontario, where almost all of it goes to Ontario and Quebec.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that. I thought it was feeding Michigan. So this is Canadian oil passing through American land and through the Straits of Mackinac, which means that it would instantly pollute Lake Superior, Lake Huron, and Lake Michigan.
Well, not Lake Superior, but Huron and Michigan and downstream, yes.
Yeah. Why would it not hit Superior?
Well, because the outflow from Superior would keep the water going
that's
down
right. The
into
water's moving
Lake
in that
Huron.
direction. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
Well, it's an international issue because of global warming, and we can't keep investing in doing things the same way and expect a different outcome. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, and excellent point. So check out FLOW, right? FLOW, is that the what? That's the organization
Jim Olson
in Traverse
is the
City?
director of Jim. That's right, and Jim Olson is the director of FLOW. He's an environmental lawyer and a friend of mine.
Great. Tell them to feel free to reach out to Sean and me about getting on the program and talking about this stuff. Tom, thank you very much for the call. It's great to hear from you. Cliff in Santa Clarita, California. Hey, Cliff, what's on your mind?
Good morning, Brother Tom, and to all your crew. Hope everyone's doing well. And thank you for addressing
so far,
the radiation.
So good.
Yeah, and thank you for addressing the radiation in our fish. The professor provided a lot of information, like the radiation diminishes as the fish travel across the ocean. I wasn't aware of that, but I had the same reaction as you when he said that the danger was not zero.
Right.
To the fish. Anyways, I haven't really done a lot of research on this, but I wanted to raise the issue. To the best of my knowledge, fossil fuels are a finite resource. Eventually, they're going to dry up. There will be no more oil, although fracking seems to be prolonging this process. So that's why liberals and progressives have been calling for the transition to renewable energy for years, right? To be prepared when the time comes. Tom, when's the last time you heard peak oil brought up on the news? Because it's been many, many years since I've heard it mentioned. And I'm really curious the status of the world reserves, and are we close to knowing what's really left? And if the word got out that the world is running low on oil, wouldn't that help expand renewables and make it more acceptable to go full throttle towards this approach? What say you?
Yeah, Cliff, the bottom line is that peak oil is no longer an issue. It's on a country-by-country basis. Like Saudi Arabia has gone through well over half of their oil, and they're going down. Iraq is going up, things like that. So, it's a local issue. But internationally, the first when I published The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight in 1996, part of the book, there were 2 chapters in the book devoted to peak oil. I had to rewrite those 2 chapters when we republished, when the second edition came out in 2003 and the third edition came out in 2016, I think it was, or 2018. In each case, I had to update that because we're finding more and more fossil fuels, and we're figuring out easier and easier ways to get them. The problem is no longer peak oil. The problem is peak carbon in the atmosphere. Long before we hit peak oil, we will have destroyed this planet's ability to sustain the life of anything larger than a cat. And so we've got a problem here with peak carbon. Peak oil. That's why you're not hearing about peak oil. Cliff, thanks for the call. It's 45 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls on Anything Goes Friday. Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more of your calls on Anything Goes Friday. And welcome back. Mark Taylor Canfield in Seattle. Hey, Mark, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to let you and your audience know about an event that's happening online this weekend, and all of the events are free. It's called the Global Happiness Summit, and it involves dozens of presenters talking about this topic of the pursuit of happiness, including the original Patch Adams, the physician and clown that Robin Williams portrayed in the movie.
And he's been on the show a few times from back in that day.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be great to have him there. I will also be performing some original music and talking about positive health effects of music and creativity. And it's a 24-hour event, and folks can go to Eventbrite to check out the schedule of the Global Happiness Summit. And as I said, it's all free, so everybody's welcome. And I think that after such a difficult year, it's more important than ever for us to reaffirm that pursuit of happiness. And I think as residents of this planet, we're very blessed to have such a beautiful place to live, especially up here in the Northwest. It's such a wonderful place to live. But I only hope that, we can find a way of bringing more joy back into people's lives and then learn to take care of each other better. And also take
Mark,
care
what's
of the
date of that
better.
again?
This is happening. It's starting at 5 o'clock tonight, and it'll go until 5 o'clock on Saturday. So it's a 24-hour event.
24-hour event starting at 5 p.m. on March 19th if you're listening to a podcast. But if you're listening live, go for it. Mark, I wish you the very, very best, and thank you very much for giving us the heads up on that. It's always great to hear from you, my friend. Dennis in Bergenfield, New Jersey. Hey, Dennis, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, I have a question about the minimum wage. My question is,
go for it.
How can we make the minimum wage a county-by-county living wage without lowering employment among high school graduates, 16 to 19-year-olds, and small businesses?
Well, if the minimum wage, if the conservative hit on the minimum wage is that it's only teenagers, and the fact of the matter is that more than 70%, if I'm remembering correctly, you can Google this and double check my numbers, but it's a substantial majority of minimum wage workers are not just adults, but they're over 30. I mean, there are a lot of people working at the minimum wage full time. That was very much not the case in the 1960s, which is, I think, the decade that these conservatives' heads are stuck in. But even if we're talking about having minimum wage workers, who are young, they should be entitled to make $15 an hour. I mean, is there an argument to the point you're making, Dennis?
Well, no, it's more like a question. I've heard you say before that you believe people who are young should have an exception, right? Exemption from the minimum wage.
Well,
right?
yeah, under 16. 16 and under, or 17 and under. I mean, in some cases, you've got kids who are working in family businesses. You've got kids who are working on the farm. You know, sometimes they're paid, sometimes they're not. I mean, but that would be it. I mean, I think if somebody's old, the age of majority, certainly if they're 18 or older, they should be considered an adult and they should be paid as an adult. And there are a lot of people who are 18 years old, not a huge number, but there's a substantial number of Americans who are 18 years old who are actually heads of household. I was at one point. We'll be back. Get my daily writings where I take on the big picture issues of our day at HartmannReport.com. So back in the day, and I mean back in the 1780s, literally when the Constitutional Convention was happening in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787, there was this debate about the quality of the vote, whether people who only landowners should be allowed to vote, stuff like that, and in order to ensure that well-informed people who really care about voting are the only ones voting. It didn't pass. It was rejected by the framers of the Constitutional Convention, this idea that only landowners should be allowed to vote. Never made it in the Constitution. But a variation on this is now being proposed in the Arizona legislature. And State Representative John Kavanaugh, who's the chair of the committee that's pushing this legislation, says the quality of the vote is important. We have to look at the quality of votes as well. I've got a new video all about this for the supporters of our program over at ThomHartmann.com. Check it out. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, taking your calls for the hour. And by the way, if you are a regular caller, if you've called in the past, you will, and you get through, and you don't get a busy signal, you get through, you will hear me put you on hold, and I will just put you on the air when the time comes. But Nate is out getting his vaccine right now, so and Louise had to take off for just a little bit here, so I'm playing call screener. Anyhow, and just FYI, Joyce, somebody from Congressman Khanna's office, I believe, is on line 9 right now. So picking up your calls, Kate in New York City. Hey, Kate, thanks for listening to Sirius XM. What's on your mind?
Hi there. Well, I had a question for Congressman Khanna, but I can just ask you because you might know the answer as well. Regarding the stimulus payments, so I got, all right, my adjusted gross income in 2019 was like $95,000. So I got the first payment, I got like $900, and I got nothing for the second or the third because it was based on 2019. Now, in 2020, I made like $30,000, and I'm heavily in debt right now. And so I'm not getting anything for the second. I didn't get anything for the second payment, and I'm not getting anything for the third because, like I said, they're basing it on 2019. So my question is, can you, when you file your taxes, apply for some sort of a reimbursement based on the fact that 2019 is kind of irrelevant? Right. And if not, why not?
I'm pretty sure you can, but I can't say that with 100% certainty, Kate. I would suggest that I'll try to remember to ask Congressman Khanna when he comes on, but you may want to just call your member of Congress there in New York City, or whoever's representing you in the House of Representatives, and ask them that question. But my understanding is that if you made too much in 2019 to be eligible for for this 2021 I wouldn't call it a stimulus, I call it the rescue plan.
Yeah.
Then, you know, the two ways around that is, number one, very quickly file your 2020 tax returns. Get that done as quickly as you can so you are on the record officially with the IRS as having made less money so that you are eligible for this payment. And then you know, and you can do that right now. You don't have to. And in fact, the IRS is extended, by the way. It's not May 15th this year. It's going to be it's not April 15th this year. It's going to be May 17th.
Right.
But you know, file your tax returns right away so you've got that proof that you made that much less. And then I believe you would just contact the IRS. But the who you contact next is what I don't know for sure, and that's why I would suggest you ask your member of Congress, and I'll try to remember to ask Congressman Khanna when he comes on. Okay?
That'd be great. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks a lot. Scott in Columbus, Ohio. Hey, Scott, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, I heard earlier this week with Mark Pocan, there was a caller who mentioned the amount of interest he paid on his student loans, and I was doing my taxes at the same time, and as it turns out, I realized in the last 10 years, I paid over $75,000 in interest, and my student loan debt principal has gone down $15,000.
Wow!
I started out at $131,000. I've been paying, never missed a payment. I owe still $116,000, and my interest in 10 years has been over $75,000.
So they're amortizing these things the same way that they do mortgages. Which means that if you want to, you know, if you want to get ahead of the curve, what you need to be doing is making an extra $10 or an extra $100 or whatever you can afford in payments every single month and applying that to the principal. Just like, you know, that's how you take a 30-year house mortgage and turn it into a 20-year mortgage, is by, you know, paying an extra $100 a month or whatever the amount would be, and getting it applied to the principal.
Great, but you know, I don't always have an extra $100 to throw it. You know,
I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, we just need to declare all of this stuff, you know, a giant fraud on the American people. This is a legacy of Reaganism. Prior to Reaganism, you could go to college working a part-time job at minimum wage and put yourself through college. Back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, even the early 80s, until Bill Bennett's stuff really started taking a bite. And you know, and we literally, you know, ask any old fart, anybody over 60. There was not student debt was not a thing in America. People didn't, you know, unless people were going to go to graduate school or get an MD, they were not running into student debt. So we need to just say, and we've got $1.7 trillion now of student debt in the United States, which is still less than Donald Trump's tax cuts for billionaires. If he can just give that money to billionaires and say, here, it's fine, and all the Republicans can applaud and America can tolerate it and the ceiling didn't fall in, why the hell can't we do that with people who have student debt? Just wipe it all out.
Yeah, thank you. Please do. I'm for it. So hey,
yeah,
thanks.
and then, thank you, Scott. And then going forward, what we should say as a nation is we're going to join the rest of the countries of the world, the developed countries of the world, and recognize that part of our most important infrastructure is our intellectual infrastructure. It's our young people. It's the ability of people to go to college. It's just, or trade school for that matter. It's just crazy. Anyhow, Congressman Ro Khanna will be with us in about 6 minutes here at the top of the next hour. So stick around, or, you know, after the break at the top of the next hour. So stick around. Congressman Khanna, the Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, will be taking your calls for the hour. And if you've been on hold to talk to me, get your question ready for him.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are Gabi.com. Gabi takes the pain out of shopping for insurance. More info at Gabi.com/Tom. Teeth, Smarter Pet Dental Help. More info at teethhealth.com, code Tom. HelloFresh, delivering fresh ingredients and mouthwatering recipes. More info at hellofresh.com, code Tom. Bowl and Branch, crafted for the common good. More information at bowlandbranch.com, code Tom. ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More info at expressvpn.com/Tom. And CB Distillery, CBD for sleeping. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM.
We say fight back!
So it's Friday. It's the last day. It's your last chance. I got an email in the mail this morning because I'm signed up as a donor to Free Speech TV. And if you are, you probably got the same email. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And I thought it was just so brilliantly written and so from the heart that I wanted to share it with you because this is how I feel about Free Speech TV. This is a really important television network, and we really need to keep it alive. Anyhow, here's what Howard said. He said, I've been around a long time. Many years ago, I put up the very first matching donation ever for Free Speech TV. In 2006, when my wife Lynn passed away, I gave a gift in her honor. There's a plaque honoring her at the Free Speech TV studio in sunny Denver, Colorado to this day. I wonder, does Free Speech TV mean to you what it does to me? And then he talks about the pledge drive and asks people to make a donation. And then he continues. He says, so since the first time I promised to double your donations many years ago, other viewers have stepped up as well to put on match days and challenges to inspire people like you to invest in Free Speech TV as well. Now, we even have a name. We're the Frontline Funders. Our role is to amplify your impact. This is more important than ever these days, writes Howard. That's because white supremacy continues to rear its ugly head. But our movement is stronger and broader. We must hold the Biden-Harris administration accountable and push for progressive policies that will dismantle the insidious oppression and racism that runs deep in our society. I always figured you have to start somewhere. For me, the place to start was with independent media. Independence means working toward what objectively is true, writes Howard. Putting my support toward Free Speech TV was a no-brainer. With Amy Goodman and Thom Hartmann and all the other Free Speech TV hosts working hard to find, and thank you, Howard, working hard to find and report the truth, the non-corporate independent nature of Free Speech TV, not to mention the network's national reach, made it just the bullhorn needed. That's why I've supported Free Speech TV as much as I can throughout the years. Free Speech TV is my community, writes Howard. I promise your funds will be put hard to work to serve our mission for a more just, equitable, and sustainable world. You'll be making a difference in the lives of so many people. This is your last chance to donate to Free Speech TV's Spring Pledge Drive. I hope you're inspired to give during this week's $10,000 challenge. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And he's absolutely right. This is the last day of the last week of it's the end of the Spring Pledge Drive. If you have not given before, we are still behind. We need your help, especially if you've never contributed to free speech before. Please call now, 877-378-8669, and become a member of Free Speech TV. Become a funder of Free Speech TV. And you will be matched by these frontline funders like Howard. There's this $10,000 waiting if we can hit our goal here from Howard. So this is a big deal, and it's an important time to give. I think I've made my case throughout the last 3 weeks of what a challenge this last year and a half or so has been for Free Speech TV. They need your help right now. With the $20 one-time gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Free Speech TV Wildflower Seed Pack. With the $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV webcam cover or the tote bag. With a $75 gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann Program official mug or the Free Speech TV hat. These are great gifts, by the way. With a $100 gift, you get a set of 2 Free Speech TV face masks. With a $120 gift, you have a choice of 3 things: the Grow Social Change box, the Wildflower Seed box, the Windowsill Herb Garden, the new tote, and the sunglasses, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, so you can become a one-person publicist, when you go out, or a copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, autographed by the author. With a $240 gift, you have a choice. You can get both of my most recent books, The Hidden History of Oligarchy and The Hidden History of Monopoly, autographed by the author, or you can participate with us in our online meet and greet, our Zoom call, where we all get together and just chat about what's going on and what's on your mind. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Spring Box. That's the bumper sticker, the free speech bumper sticker, the Thom Hartmann bumper sticker, the seeds, the wildflower seeds, the herb garden, the window herb garden, the tote bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV sunglasses, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, Reclaiming Our Democracy from the Ruling Class. And with a $1,000 gift, come to our in-person meet and greet here in Portland. Come visit us and hang out with us for the last hour of the show. And you meet Sean, you meet Nate, you meet me, and we're pretty much the ones who are, physically here. Occasionally Chase or Louise or somebody else will drop by. So that's what it is, and this is the last day. And please, last chance, call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you like Free Speech TV and hopefully this program, and make your contribution. Is Fantasy Island by Ed Morales.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the second hour of our program. On the line with us for the hour, we're going to do a National Progressive Town Hall meeting here. Congressman Ro Khanna of the Silicon Valley area of California, representing the 17th District of California in the U.S. House of Representatives, Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, is on the line with us. His website is Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov, and you can tweet him at Rep Ro, R-O, Rep Ro Khanna. And Congressman Khanna, welcome back. What's before we pick up phone calls here, I'm just curious, what's at the top of your list of things that you wanted to be sure to share with our listeners today, or the things that you're really paying attention to that are going on politically or in the world?
Well, Tom, this morning we had a press conference the Progressive Caucus members did with Reverend Barber, Richard Trumka, president of the AFL-CIO, Mary Kay Henry, president of SEIU, and a lot of the tip workers groups saying we have to get a $15 wage by the end of the year, that it needs to be in reconciliation, it needs to be in must-pass legislation. And I thought it was powerful. We had almost 20 members on the call. Mark Pocan, who's a frequent guest, was one of the co-conveners. So that is a huge priority for us. And then many of us have been talking to the White House this week about what is the path forward on that, what is the path forward on infrastructure. Let's not wait with the chimera of trying to get Republican support. Let's move forward on our agenda.
That's great. That's great. And I'm hearing an echo, and kind of sounds like you're calling from the can. I don't know if it's possible for you to pick up your phone and talk to us that way. It'll sound a little bit.
I thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. With the video.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It makes a big difference. But we're doing both video and audio, and we've got to make sure that the audio is clean for the audio side. And I'm sorry, Louise couldn't pick up your phone line and talk to you about it before we went on the air. Nate is out getting his vaccine right now, so we're a little short-handed. So this was
no worries. No, it's great. It's always, I should know by now as a regular to do that.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, so let's pick up some phone calls here. TJ in Newark, New Jersey, you are on the air with Representative Khanna.
Hey, Representative Khanna. Hey, Tom. How's it going?
Good.
So,
hi, TJ.
Cool. So I have a kind of a weird question because I've noticed that in certain states there was a huge jump in pneumonia-related deaths, but had relatively low COVID-19 related deaths. Do you think that there's some states that are hiding COVID deaths behind pneumonia?
That's interesting, TJ. I don't know. I don't rule out the possibility. I mean, there have been issues of data integrity in a number of states. There's also the possibility that we don't know inaccurately diagnosing COVID, that the testing isn't uniform, and we may be not diagnosing it in all cases. But it's an interesting issue. No one has raised it with me before, and I'm happy to look into it. I appreciate you raising it.
Charles in Miami, Florida. Charles, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Okay. How you doing, Representative Khanna?
Hi, Charles.
Hi, and good afternoon, Tom. I'm calling because I left a message on your voicemail. I don't know if you get it, but I live here in Miami, and the thing in Miami, Florida, and I'm very offended by what this governor has done by letting people in and expose and just jeopardizing this country again with another surge of COVID. And I was just wondering, is there any way that you guys can that you could try to what is it when you put those people in the quarantine? All the people that's coming back for spring break, could you set up some type of quarantine? Could you set up some type of way that you can look at the manifest on the airlines and any other form of transportation, and let's quarantine these people, or just to show these governors that we're not playing with them. Why don't you shut the country down for 2 weeks? Because I'm looking at the BBC, and they're shutting down France and other parts of Europe because COVID is out of control, especially this time of year. And I'll take my answer off the line. Thank you, sir.
Well, I share your frustration. I mean, we're in a race against the variants. We've had about 20% of the country vaccinated. I've had family of mine who haven't been vaccinated yet. And it is totally irresponsible to be lifting these restrictions when we're a few months away. If we just wait a few months, we would be able to vaccinate the country, and there'd be far less risk. And I was reading this morning in Michigan, I mean, kids are getting it between the ages of 10 and 19, and they're not out of the woods. There's a very dangerous syndrome that unlikely, but that they can get. So we need to be careful. We need to have the restrictions until we reach the 70-80% vaccination threshold.
Ron in Dallas, Texas. You're on the air with Ro Khanna, Congressman Ro Khanna.
How are you doing, Congressman?
Hi, Ron.
My question is related to the COBRA provision in the COVID relief bill that just recently passed. I called the COBRA office to find out about eligibility. They told me that if you were laid off in past months, you would need to make up all the back premiums in order to take advantage of the supplement from April to September that's part of the bill. And that seems kind of counterintuitive to me, because if you couldn't afford the premium in 2020, then how could you afford to pay the back premiums now? So I just wanted to see what your understanding of it was.
Ron, thanks for raising that. I did not know that is the interpretation, that even to get the subsidy, that shouldn't be the case, that they're requiring a collection of back payment. But it highlights the problem of COBRA. COBRA is a horrible way of treating folks who lose their jobs. It's expensive. It goes to the private insurance. It would have been far better to expand Medicare. But at the very least, we should honor what the Congress did, and that is to make it subsidized and not demand back payments as a condition of getting that subsidy. So you should contact your member of Congress, and I will look here as a policy matter if there's anything that could be done.
Martin in Schenectady, New York. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hello. Congressman, have you ever heard of a term called fallacious reasoning and emotional appeal?
I have just heard of the terms, yes.
Yes, I learned about it when I was attending the Air Force Officer Training School back in 1979, but I'm sure they teach it. And what it does is it helps the officers or potential officers try to filter through lines of BS that their subordinates may try to pull over them to get them to make a decision. In other words, it's part of the decision-making training you get at officer training school. I'm sure all the other services offer it as well. But if you could get more information about that out to the general public who have to make decisions about who they should vote for and so forth, I think we'd be a lot better off. And I think it may be something that you might be able to get through the Freedom of Information Act. That's all I have.
Martin, it's a good idea. At the very least, maybe there could be things we learn from that could be part of our educational curriculum. Finland has a entire course on digital literacy, so teaching people about what is newsworthy and what is false and how to sort through it. And they have been one of the societies least susceptible to the spread of misinformation. So what you suggested may be one avenue of a broader program for greater digital literacy, greater literacy in this country about information.
We have 30 seconds to the break. Any chance of bringing back civics education as something that's essentially required in at least elementary and secondary school?
Tom, I'm a proponent of that, both because we need to understand our history and because we need to understand critical thinking as citizens so that you're not in a QAnon group or not in a social media bubble without being able to question things. So I think the country desperately needs it.
Yeah, me too. 15 minutes past the hour. Congressman Ro Khanna is taking your calls for the hour in our national Progressive Town Hall meeting right here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Congressman Khanna, Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, represents the 17th District of California. His website is Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov, and you can tweet him at Rep. Ro Khanna.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
It's the Thom Hartmann Program, the place where despair is not an option. Back with your calls for Congressman Ro Khanna in just a moment. And welcome back. Joe in Cupertino, California. You're on the air with your congressman.
Tom, thank you so much. I'm on my morning walk. I'm doing 3 miles a day, and you saved my life. But I wanted to ask Rep. Khanna a question. Color me stupid. I thought that Moffett Field was in your district, but I guess it's Anna's district. At any rate, she echoed the sentiments that you did last week, and I thought that was wonderful. The reason I mentioned that, though, was because last time they did that in the community that I lived in, they threw stones at the buses of the kids, and it scared them. And I remember how terrible I felt. Anyway, I called to ask, why can't I get the vaccine? I'm walking in your district, and everywhere I look on the computer, on my phone, there's nothing available in the Bay Area. Everything is available in Sacramento, Los Angeles, the Central Valley. I wanted to suggest that our CFO, Dr. Smith, is trying to have insurance companies, because he doesn't want to pay the fee to Blue Cross to administer vaccines that we're already administering here on the floor. In the county, we're giving shots every day, and there's excess, but we can't get it out to the public. I don't know why. Maybe you could look into it, find out. It's terrible that we have to wait. I was approved on Monday because of my previous existing condition, but no one around. I don't want to drive 500 miles to go get a shot. Do you know why that is?
Joe, I appreciate it. You're right to voice frustration. Santa Clara County hasn't gotten enough vaccines. It's a frustration that I think many have. In fact, I'm on the websites every day trying to sign my wife up, and it all gets filled up. But the challenge is we have to get more vaccines, and we're pushing hard to get more vaccines to Santa Clara County and Alameda County. There's a massive shortage of allocation of the supply. To your other point, I'm glad that the administration is now not going to use Moffett Field without the safeguards of housing children with human rights. I was happy. I said, and Anna Eshoo said, we're happy to have them. We'd welcome them, but not if they're not going to have food, not if they're not going to have sanitation and an access to lawyers. The next thing we know, the administration is considering somewhere else. But so we made it very clear that our human rights have to be upheld if they're going to be housed in our district.
Jeff in Portland, Oregon. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hey, happy Friday, Tom and Congressman Khanna. Thank you both for all you do. Congressman Khanna, Tom was talking yesterday about how the airlines have received COVID relief equaling $600,000 for every job they retained, yet up until this week they had still been threatening mass layoffs. It's also an industry highly dependent on fossil fuels, so I think it's high time we were offered a viable alternative for domestic travel. In my opinion, that would be national electrified high-speed trains. Congressman, do you know of any plans or legislation that would give President Biden, Amtrak Joe, the chance to do for trains what Eisenhower did for cars in building the interstate highway system? You know, Japan, Europe, and now China have been doing it like crazy for decades. Isn't it past time for America to join the 21st century with high-speed rail? Thank you, Congressman.
Jeff, you very eloquently said, California, as you know, is the one state that has been trying it, and we've made some progress from Merced to Bakersfield. We're now going to have the resources to extend that to the Bay Area, but we need to do this around the country. I mean, it is an investment that is energy efficient, and it's an investment that's about our future, and I strongly support putting it in Build Back Better.
We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Ro Khanna, Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, representing the 17th District of California in the U.S. House of Representatives. Right after this, in about 1 minute, coming up on 20 minutes past the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Stick around. On the Science Revolution this week, Beyond Nuclear's Kevin Camps drops by. On the 10th anniversary of the Fukushima crisis, just like the COVID pandemic, opinion on Fukushima is split between those who are horrified by the health risks and those who are worried about the economic damage that nuclear power does. Investigative journalist Greg Palast drops by on how Stacey Abrams is showing real courage in Georgia with her opposition to the Vogtle nuclear plant, the last and only nuclear plant under construction in the U.S. She opposes charging Georgians ruinous electric bills to finish it. Also in Geeky Science, good news on CBD. There's a new report out showing it reduces plaque and improves cognition in rats with Alzheimer's, and hopefully soon studies will start on humans. Tune into the Science Revolution wherever fine podcasts are available. 20 minutes past the hour. Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls for the hour, our Progressive Town Hall meeting, a National Progressive Town Hall meeting. Louise in Seattle, you are on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air, Louise.
Hello?
Hi, Louise.
I think Louise is having a problem with her phone. So let's try James in Spokane, Washington. James, you are on the air. What's up?
Gentlemen, it seems none of us are in jail or in the hospital yet, so that's good. It's a good sign. I had a question. If these corporations are supposed to be persons of any kind, in addition to their corporate obligations, why are they not paying the same rate of personal income tax as you and me?
It's a good question in terms of the legal foundation. I mean, obviously, the law has made an exception, like we've had a lower capital gains tax. I don't believe that the capital gains tax should be lower than ordinary income. But we need to raise the corporate tax rate. But more than raising the corporate tax rate, which I think we will do in the next plan, the critical thing is to enforce it. I mean, Amazon is paying 0% tax, and they move their money overseas, or they hide some of their assets, or they take huge deductions. And so there ought to be a minimum tax that these global corporations pay, and that's something that we're working on.
Annie in Sugar Grove, North Carolina. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, good afternoon, Congressman. First off, my late father was a civics teacher, so I started learning civics as a small child, even before I got into ninth grade in 1969, graduated from high school in 73. So it was civics all the time in our family. And the other thing is, my representative is Virginia Fox. Need I say more? My question regards, the other day, Tom talked to a woman about the railroad pension plan that was where people who had Social Security and railroad pension, their Social Security was either reduced or taken away. Same thing happened to me. Do you know the difference between CSRS and FERS in the government? The employee, I was a FERS. I was a Federal Employee Retirement System. I wasn't under CSRS. So I paid into both Social Security and my federal pension. And I'd worked in private attorneys before working for the federal government in 1985, so I was always paying into Social Security. But what happened was I took an early out from the Department of Justice.
Annie, forgive the interruption, but we're short on time. Can you?
I know.
What's the specific question for Congressman?
The point is, the question is, when I turned 62, my federal pension, whether I took Social Security or not, my federal pension went from 18 grand to 10. It took 10 years to go from 14 to 18, and then when I turned 62, and every year afterwards, it's reduced by that much amount of money. So they didn't want us. The quote was double dipping. So I can't find out when that happened in Congress, and it's really annoying because that same term that Tom used with the woman the other day was double dipping, and that's what they don't want us. They didn't want us doing. So that's my question. When did that happen? I can't find when that happened.
Thank you, Annie.
Well, Annie, I appreciate you raising the issue, and I'm happy to look into it. I think this has affected teachers as well, and no person should be denied Social Security benefits because of previous employment or previous pensions. And if that is what's happening to you, I'm happy to look into the details, or you can contact your member of Congress or contact us, and we will do what we can to make sure you get the Social Security you deserve.
Marcy in New Mexico. Marcy, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hello. I know that the Congressman sponsored or was trying to sponsor legislation last summer to pause the ICBM program. I'm very, very concerned about nuclear weapons, especially since right outside my window I can see Los Alamos, where they're building a whole new bomb factory. That, again, without an environmental impact study on an earthquake fault in where we have terrible fire seasons, and it's extremely dangerous. But I'd love to stop the bomb factory. But meanwhile, I was wondering what you're doing now and what you can do to oppose and halt this nuclear weapons program.
Well, Marcia, I appreciate the question. Senator Markey and I will be introducing legislation to say we should not be buying new systems of ICBMs. I mean, it's one thing if we want to modernize the ICBMs to make sure that they're still functional, but the ICBMs are, one, the greatest risk to accidental nuclear war, according to people like Bill Perry and Sam Nunn, because once you authorize their launch, you can't take it back. Two, they're the most vulnerable to attack. You can take out an ICBM in a much easier way than you could take out a naval submarine or an airplane. And so we're not saying even to dismantle them. We're saying don't have put hundreds of billions of more dollars into a new system of ICBMs when it's not strategic and when it risks accidental nuclear war. It's an uphill battle, honestly, in Congress because they try to label you soft on defense, but it is actually the smart policy, and we're going to continue to push.
Congressman, 30 seconds. What are your thoughts on nuclear policy with regard to China, Russia? I mean, do we need new treaties?
We do, and we ought to do what Obama started but never finished, which is say we are not a first strike state. We won't use nuclear weapons offensively, and then we ought to sit down with the Russians and Chinese and negotiate arms control agreements the way past presidents have negotiated.
Yeah, it just makes perfect sense. Congressman Ro Khanna is with us for the hour, taking your calls. A National Progressive Town Hall meeting. We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Khanna right after this break here at the bottom of the hour. Stick around.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Representative Khanna's website is Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Ro Khanna. So it's Friday. It's the last day. It's your last chance. I got an email in the mail this morning because I'm signed up as a donor to Free Speech TV. And if you are, you probably got the same email. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And I thought it was just so brilliantly written and so from the heart that I wanted to share it with you, because this is how I feel about Free Speech TV. This is a really important television network, and we really need to keep it alive. Anyhow, here's what Howard said. He said, "I've been around a long time. Many years ago, I put up the very first matching donation ever for Free Speech TV. In 2006, when my wife Lynn passed away, I gave a gift in her honor. There's a plaque honoring her at the Free Speech TV studio in sunny Denver, Colorado to this day. I wonder, does Free Speech TV mean to you what it does to me?" And then he talks about the pledge drive and asks people to make a donation. And then he continues. He says, "So since the first time I promised to double your donations many years ago, other viewers have stepped up as well to put on match days and challenges to inspire people like you to invest in Free Speech TV as well. Now, we even have a name. We're the Frontline Funders. Our role is to amplify your impact. This is more important than ever these days," writes Howard. "That's because white supremacy continues to rear its ugly head. But our movement is stronger and broader. We must hold the Biden-Harris administration accountable and push for progressive policies that will dismantle the insidious oppression and racism that runs deep in our society. I always figured you have to start somewhere. For me, the place to start was with independent media. Independence means working toward what objectively is true," writes Howard. Putting my support toward Free Speech TV was a no-brainer. With Amy Goodman and Thom Hartmann and all the other Free Speech TV hosts working hard to find, and thank you, Howard, working hard to find and report the truth, the non-corporate, independent nature of Free Speech TV, not to mention the network's national reach, made it just the bullhorn needed. That's why I've supported Free Speech TV as much as I can throughout the years. Free Speech TV is my community," writes Howard. "I promise your funds will be put hard to work to serve our mission for a more just, equitable, and sustainable world. You'll be making a difference in the lives of so many people. This is your last chance to donate to Free Speech TV's Spring Pledge Drive. I hope you're inspired to give during this week's $10,000 challenge." This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And he's absolutely right. This is the last day of the last week of it's the end of the Spring Pledge Drive. If you have not given before, we are still behind. We need your help, especially if you've never contributed to free speech before. Please call now, 877-378-8669, and become a member of Free Speech TV. Become a funder of Free Speech TV. And you will be matched by these frontline funders like Howard. There's this $10,000 waiting if we can hit our goal here from Howard. So this is a big deal, and it's an important time to give. I think I've made my case throughout the last 3 weeks of what a challenge this last year and a half or so has been for Free Speech TV. They need your help right now. With the $20 one-time gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Free Speech TV Wildflower Seed Pack. With the $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV webcam cover or the tote bag. With the $75 gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann Program official mug or the Free Speech TV hat. These are great gifts, by the way. With the $100 gift, you get a set of 2 Free Speech TV face masks. With a $120 gift, you have a choice of 3 things: the Grow Social Change box, the Wildflower Seed box, the Windowsill Herb Garden, the new tote, and the sunglasses, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, so you can become a one-person publicist, when you go out, or a copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, autographed by the author. With a $240 gift, you have a choice. You can get both of my most recent books, The Hidden History of Oligarchy and The Hidden History of Monopoly, autographed by the author, or you can participate with us in our online meet and greet, our Zoom call, where we all get together and just, chat about what's going on and what's on your mind. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Spring Box. That's the bumper sticker, the free speech bumper sticker, the Thom Hartmann bumper sticker, the seeds, the wildflower seeds, the herb garden, the window herb garden, the tote bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV sunglasses, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, Reclaiming Our Democracy from the Ruling Class. And with a $1,000 gift, come to our in-person meet and greet here in Portland. Come visit us and hang out with us for the last hour of the show. And you meet Sean, you meet Nate, you meet me, and we're pretty much the ones who are, physically here. Occasionally Chase or Louise or somebody else will drop by. So that's what it is, and this is the last day. And please, last chance, call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you like Free Speech TV and hopefully this program, and make your contribution. History of American Oligarchy. For supporters of our program over at ThomHartmann.com, you'll find a riff about a fellow named Errol Graham. He's a 57-year-old African English individual who starved to death recently in the United Kingdom. The neoliberal Thatcher policies are apparently echoing through the British system now in a rather substantial way, the same way that Reaganomics is echoing through the American system. And we've got tens of thousands of Americans who die every year because they lack health care or they can't afford copays and things. And we have literally millions of children in America who are malnourished or even go to bed hungry every night. It's pretty breathtaking stuff. And I think you'll find the rant particularly interesting or useful, and hope you can share it with your friends when you pick it up. It's over at ThomHartmann.com. Thanks again for supporting our program. Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls for the hour on our National Progressive Town Hall meeting, and picking up your phone calls here for Congressman Khanna. Norma in Montgomery, Alabama, you are on the air with Representative Khanna.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Representative Khanna, I have been watching all of these posts and news reports of the fact that GM is going to stop making gas cars in 2035. They're only going to make electric. This is also happening in other countries, particularly Japan. And I've been thinking about the drain on the electric system here in the United States as a larger number of people need to recharge an electric car. Well, the other day I got a post with a picture of a car that has attached an alternator to the drive wheel so that it automatically charges his batteries. And so therefore he does not have to pay for electricity to charge his car. He is essentially driving free. So if we can have the auto industry, we can force them to put seatbelts in a car. Is there any way to start looking at forcing them to put an alternator on the car when it is manufactured that will automatically charge the batteries? Because can California's population charge their car? If all of them have electric cars, can California charge them without a brownout? We cannot use the existing antiquated structure that we have today to charge everybody's cars, trucks, or whatever. So this is a long-term thing, I realize, but can't we even start looking at making sure that new electric cars can charge themselves?
Norma, it's a great idea. I'm happy as the chair of the Environment Subcommittee at Oversight, we're going to be having hearings on these issues. One of the issues with the batteries is lithium-ion batteries. We have a shortage in the United States, so we don't even have enough batteries for the electric vehicles. But you raise a good point that if we can first solve the shortage problem and we get enough batteries, then how do we charge all these electric vehicles without putting too much pressure on our existing electricity supply while we don't have enough solar and wind to power everything? And I'm happy to look at what we could do to incentivize more cars to be able to charge themselves. It's a very thoughtful suggestion.
Mary in Waterloo, Iowa, you are on the air with Representative Khanna.
Yeah, I am retired, and when I retired, my lawyer put my house in a trust, and I also have a rental property to help with my income, which is in a trust. but I don't file under a trust. I file under my name. And because my house is in a trust, I'm not able to get the stimulus. But my income is way below.
Mary, that's really sad and disappointing to hear. Please contact your member of Congress. And if you don't, please contact us. You can go to our website, RoKhanna.com or our House website. And we will try to help you and put you in touch with your member of Congress. But that you should be getting the stimulus check.
Congressman, the reason why so many seniors are putting their homes in trusts is because 2 years after that, under federal law with regard to Medicaid, if they need a long-term nursing home, you can't get Medicaid to pay for a nursing home unless you're broke, basically. You've got to be, you got to have a net worth of almost nothing. So people put their homes in these trusts so that they can go to their, essentially become the property of their children, so that they will qualify for Medicaid in the event that they need a nursing home. Can't we just change the Medicaid requirements?
Isn't that so sad that in this country we don't have long-term care covered by Medicare, which is obviously what the Medicare for All bill does. But in the absence of doing that, I do think you're right that we can at least change the Medicaid requirement so that if you are a senior who needs long-term care, that we don't require you to go basically bankrupt before we treat you with basic dignity. And so I think, actually, Tom, that's a great idea to look into. We need to have long-term care covered by Medicare for All, but in the interim, can't we at least make that change?
Yeah, amen. Joe in Tucson, Arizona. Joe, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Well, I wanted to find out when the Social Security recipients are going to start getting their stimulus. And I'd also like to ask the congressman, is there a way for people who do not abide by the protocols or get the vaccine when eligible to exempt insurance companies and the government from paying for their medical expenses?
Joe, on the first question, you should be getting your checks any day. I mean, the checks have started to go out. They've been hitting direct deposits. If you don't get it, please contact your member of Congress. But the checks are being administered as we speak. On the second question, the irony is that even though members of Congress, there are about 20 to 30%, mostly Republican, basically, who haven't gotten the vaccine. And it's absurd. It's wrong. I don't think we can deny health care coverage in that case. But I do think that we need to do better in our outreach and get people, certainly employers and schools in certain cases can require it, and have an effort to explain why not doing the vaccine is a selfish choice.
Becky in Los Angeles, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, thank you. Representative Khanna, I'm calling about the homeless problem in California, and we have the highest homeless in the nation, over 160,000. I see more tents on the sidewalk every day. This last year, it's increased at least twice as much as previous. And can we get a federal effort in the state to get housing built for homeless people?
You're absolutely right. It was a heartbreaking case. I don't know if you read about the driver who was under the influence and killed a number of homeless individuals because the car went on the sidewalk where they were sleeping. It is a moral issue. It is a huge issue for California. We need to get more funding, and Elizabeth Warren has a bill with Cedric Richmond when he was in the House to provide the grants to states that would allow for the building of housing. But we also need a change in the zoning laws. A lot of the cities and other areas in California need to allow for the building of more affordable housing and not be as restrictive in their zoning laws. Those are the two things that are necessary to try to solve the homeless problem.
Dave in West Palm Beach, Florida. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Congressman, thank you for taking my call. My question is, I'm in Florida. We passed this past election 61 to 39%, a $15 an hour minimum wage as a constitutional amendment cannot be taken away by a Republican legislature, and we're a red state. Why haven't more blue states enacted a $15 an hour minimum wage, being that we're the only state in the country that now has that? And we basically passed Bernie's plan. We gradually go up to $15 an hour over the next 5 years.
That's great, and I appreciate that. California has a $15 wage as well that gradually will go up to $15. But I think what it shows in Florida is when you put the question to voters and you bypass all the lobbyists and special interests in legislatures, then it passes. And somehow what we need to do is translate that popular support, the energy that we saw in states like Florida, to Congress. And that's why this morning we had this press conference saying this is something people demand. We need the $15 wage. We're not going anywhere. We need to get this done.
Lynn in St. Paul, Minnesota, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna. We just have a little over a minute to the break.
Okay. Hi. Thank you. I wanted to talk about what you had mentioned about a month ago about if you want to lift up the society, you need to educate girls. And to do that, we need to pursue women's issues and vote for women candidates. Planned Parenthood lost their, Trump reinstituted the gay group, which lost a whole lot of money for Planned Parenthood. There was only one sentence that I heard in the debates, and it was that women should have the right to choose. To me, this is to me, this is a sign that we're not talking about these important issues.
Lynn, thank you very much. Congressman, if you want to speak to that when we come back from the break, we'll just bring this up, women's issues. It's also National Women's Month, I believe. 45 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Ro Khanna in just a moment. You can find his website at Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And you can tweet him at Rep, as in Representative, Rep Ro, R-O, Khanna. So it's Women's History Month. I stand corrected. Jonathan in Portland, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, Congressman Khanna. I wanted to know if you've spoken at all with Taiwan's digital minister, Audrey Tang. Taiwan, I believe, has the world's most innovative model for democracy. It's a cure for government gridlock. It's a cure for the divisiveness that's caused by social media. It uses artificial intelligence and a platform called Polis to find hidden consensus. And it's not just consensus, but the hidden consensus that really drives the government forward and creates these virtual town halls where people can participate. And I want to know if you've heard of that, if you're doing anything about it. There's governments all over the world that are adopting these things.
Well, I'm impressed by your knowledge. I'm actually, as Tom knows, writing a book, Dignity in the Digital Age, and I talk about Audrey Tang's use of technology that you described very accurately to have deliberative democracy. And if you permit me just a 1-minute digression, I sent it to Jürgen Habermas, who's endorsed the idea of the book. And Habermas is one of basically the founder of deliberative democratic theory, and found these type of ideas are very interesting. So I haven't reached out to Audrey Tang, but it's a great idea. I should actually probably reach out to her. But you're absolutely right that they're doing incredibly innovative things, and it shows that you can use technology platforms to foster consensus and rational exchange, and not just to have polarization.
Louise in Seattle, Washington. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yes, thank you very much for putting me back in the line. I really appreciate it. Last night, I want to bring up an issue that's not on the minds of most Americans, but last night I attended a webinar featuring Daniel Ellsberg, and he said he had been in deep despair about curbing nuclear weapons until literally just a couple of days ago when he saw an article written by William Hartung, head of the Center for International Policy. And the title of this article is Inside the ICBM Lobby, Special Interests or the National Interest. And Hartung points out that not only the United States but the world is in greater danger with these land-based nuclear weapons because they're on hair trigger alert, meaning...
Louise, what's your question?
The question is, what does Representative Khanna believe about this program of replacing the ICBMs? Is it...
Okay, thank you.
Louise, you're absolutely right. I mean, I am leading the bill with Senator Ed Markey to say that we should not be getting the new ICBM technology as part of a nuclear modernization, that ICBMs are the biggest threat to an accidental nuclear war, and they're the most susceptible to being taken out. And it's one thing to make sure that we're keeping them in a form that's functioning. It's a totally another thing to be investing in new ICBMs. It's a difficult position to take because people try to caricature it as soft on defense. It's not. We still have a very strong deterrent, and the submarine deterrent and air deterrent is actually more effective. But, Senator, take a look at what Senator Markey and I are doing. It's legislation I think you would like.
Coming up on 10 minutes before the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program, Congressman Ro Khanna is taking your calls for the hour in our National Progressive Town Hall meeting. We'll be back with more of your calls for him in just a moment. You can find his website at Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Ro Khanna, REPROKHANNA. We'll be right back. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. So David Perry over at Medium.com put together a list of 38 reasons to investigate the Trump administration. Everything from the Russian influence over the 2016 election to the Trump family's collusion with Russia to Ivanka Trump's trademarks to federal spending at Trump properties to the civilians killed by Trump's drone strikes to the Trump administration's role in turning the United States into the global epicenter for the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, we are. Yes, it's grim. Their decision to sideline the CDC, politicizing mask wearing just to try to get himself reelected, the number of people who died because the White House kept PPE from blue states, from Democratic-led states, the contents of the Trump documents that Trump refused to release to the House Judiciary Committee and other committees, all the people who wouldn't speak, at all, ignoring subpoenas, violations of the Hatch Act, the deportation of COVID-positive immigrant families, illegal altering of records. Anyhow, there's a whole list. It's over at ThomHartmann.com. Check it out. Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls for the hour. And Philip in Island Pond, Vermont. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yes, my concern is for the funding of the Consumer Protection Bureau. I filed multiple complaints with them, and none of them were responded to. They pushed them back to the banks. And I had a simple technical issue with a bank that never got resolved. And they seem to have no power. And if Americans really look into it, they're getting nickel and dimed big time by a lot of these small practices that these big companies are doing. They're losing billions of dollars because the Consumer Protection Bureau has no power to fix the problem. So I want to know, when are the Democrats going to fix the problem, give the Consumer Protection Bureau power so they can actually fix the problems? Look at the interest rates. The interest rates are outrageous. Banks are making. They're getting the money for almost nothing. They're lending it out for this, but the charges they're charging, the fees, are outrageous. The payday lenders.
So, Philip, let's get the answer to the question here. Congressman?
Well, I completely agree with you. I mean, the Trump administration tried to gut that agency. I will work with Senator Warren. I'm going to raise this with her when I talk to her next. We need a strong administrator there, and he needs to be supported with the Congress and funding and it needs to function as it was intended. So I appreciate you raising it.
Jake in Elizabeth, Pennsylvania. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Good morning, gentlemen. Congressman, I've got a proposition for you that I was wondering if maybe you could answer the question. I've got this idea that if we put up propositions to the people, that the egalitarian Jeffersonian founding of our country would finally come back into being, and that we, the people, would actually rule. And that is that we put in an amendment to the Constitution that says we, the people, through our elected public servants, shall rule the USA. And following major points need to be included in that amendment for the Congress to actually look at, investigate, and pass laws regarding. And the number one is permanently eliminate the oligarchs and their propaganda. Number two, actively defend our democracy from the oligarchs and their corporations forevermore.
Jake, I'm sorry that it's Jake wants to propose legislation to you. Do you want to respond to any of that, Congressman Khanna?
Well, Jake, I think Jake's point is that we need more popular engagement in our democracy, and we've seen this when we have ballot initiatives like the $15 wage. And to the extent that we can get bills posted online, to the extent that we can get more popular feedback on the legislative process, I think all of those are reforms. And we may even want to consider certain things through direct ballot initiatives nationally. I mean, if Congress gets that unable to do the work.
Yeah. John in Boise, Idaho. Got about a minute and a half here, maybe 2 minutes. John, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yes, my question, Congressman, is about tariffs. We currently have one with China. I believe that's still ongoing. I believe that they're not very helpful. Prices usually go up, and they're not very good for our diplomacy. And I believe the last president that had tariffs was Truman. I could be wrong, but I haven't had time to get on the net to verify that. So that's my question to you. What's your take on that? And are they looking into taking those off of China, or what is the Biden administration doing right now? And good luck with all the questions you're getting this morning. Thank you.
Well, thank you, John. They are reviewing it, and John, we need to have strong laws against Chinese dumping, against them undercutting the U.S. market. But the challenge with tariffs is that while it may help our steel and manufacturers, on the other hand, it's hurting our agricultural industry, and it's hurting our automobile industry, where the price of imports have gone up. So they have unintended consequences, trying to create jobs in one area, losing jobs in another. And I believe that having a trade war is not the best policy. There ought to be other ways of selectively targeting abuse, because there definitely is not fair trade, and making sure that we have a fair trade, but not putting broad-based tariffs.
Congressman, we just have 30 seconds left. What should we be looking at in the coming weeks?
Well, we're next going to go into infrastructure, which is going to be critical. I believe, as the Progressive Caucus does, that we need to go big, that we shouldn't be looking for these phantom 10 Republican votes. We should have learned the lesson from the COVID relief bill. Now, if they support it, great, but let's do what's necessary for the country in terms of the modern infrastructure, on the smart grid, on renewable energy, on roads, bridges, airports, broadband, and rebuild this country as President Biden envisioned.
Sounds like a plan. Congressman, thanks so much for dropping by today. It's always great having you with us.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Congressman Ro Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov is his website. You can tweet him at Rep. Ro Khanna. We'll be back with Anything Goes Friday, you and me, for the next hour right after this. Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are Gabi.com. Gabi takes the pain out of shopping for insurance. More info at Gabby.com/Tom. Teeth, Smarter Pet Dental Help. More info at teethhealth.com, code TOM. HelloFresh, delivering fresh ingredients and mouthwatering recipes. More info at hellofresh.com, code TOM. Bowl and Branch, crafted for the common good. More information at bowlandbranch.com, code TOM. ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More info at expressvpn.com/Tom. And CB Distillery, CBD for sleeping. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM.
We say fight back!
So it's Friday. It's the last day. It's your last chance. I got an email in the mail this morning because I'm signed up as a donor to Free Speech TV. And if you are, you probably got the same email. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And I thought it was just so brilliantly written and so from the heart that I wanted to share it with you because this is how I feel about Free Speech TV. This is a really important television network, and we really need to keep it alive. Anyhow, here's what Howard said. He said, I've been around a long time. Many years ago, I put up the very first matching donation ever for Free Speech TV. In 2006, when my wife Lynn passed away, I gave a gift in her honor. There's a plaque honoring her at the Free Speech TV studio in sunny Denver, Colorado to this day. I wonder, does Free Speech TV mean to you what it does to me? And then he talks about the pledge drive and asks people to make a donation. And then he continues, he says, so since the first time I promised to double your donations many years ago, other viewers have stepped up as well to put on match days and challenges to inspire people like you to invest in Free Speech TV as well. Now, we even have a name. We're the Frontline Funders. Our role is to amplify your impact. This is more important than ever these days, writes Howard. That's because white supremacy continues to rear its ugly head. But our movement is stronger and broader. We must hold the Biden-Harris administration accountable and push for progressive policies that will dismantle the insidious oppression and racism that runs deep in our society. I always figured you have to start somewhere. For me, the place to start was with independent media. Independence means working toward what objectively is true, writes Howard. Putting my support toward Free Speech TV was a no-brainer. With Amy Goodman and Thom Hartmann and all the other Free Speech TV hosts working hard to find, and thank you, Howard, working hard to find and report the truth, the non-corporate, independent nature of Free Speech TV, not to mention the network's national reach, made it just the bullhorn needed. That's why I've supported Free Speech TV as much as I can throughout the years. Free Speech TV is my community, writes Howard. I promise your funds will be put hard to work to serve our mission for a more just, equitable, and sustainable world. You'll be making a difference in the lives of so many people. This is your last chance to donate to Free Speech TV's Spring Pledge Drive. I hope you're inspired to give during this week's $10,000 challenge. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And he's absolutely right. This is the last day of the last week it's the end of the Spring Pledge Drive. If you have not given before, we are still behind. We need your help, especially if you've never contributed to free speech before. Please call now, 877-378-8669, and become a member of Free Speech TV. Become a funder of Free Speech TV. And you will be matched by these frontline funders like Howard. There's this $10,000 waiting if we can hit our goal here from Howard. So this is a big deal, and it's an important time to give. I think I've made my case throughout the last 3 weeks of what a challenge this last year and a half or so has been for Free Speech TV. They need your help right now. With the $20 one-time gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Free Speech TV Wildflower Seed Pack. With the $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV webcam cover or the tote bag. With the $75 gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann Program official mug or the Free Speech TV hat. These are great gifts, by the way. With a $100 gift, you get a set of 2 Free Speech TV face masks. With a $120 gift, you have a choice of 3 things: the Grow Social Change box, the Wildflower Seed box, the Windowsill Herb Garden, the new tote, and the sunglasses, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirts, so you can become a one-person publicist, when you go out, or a copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, autographed by the author. With a $240 gift, you have a choice. You can get both of my most recent books, The Hidden History of Oligarchy and The Hidden History of Monopoly, autographed by the author, or you can participate with us in our online meet and greet, our Zoom call, where we all get together and just chat about what's going on and what's on your mind. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Spring Box. That's the bumper sticker, the free speech bumper sticker, the Thom Hartmann bumper sticker, the seeds, the wildflower seeds, the herb garden, the window herb garden, the tote bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV sunglasses, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, Reclaiming Our Democracy from the Ruling Class. And with a $1,000 gift, come to our in-person meet and greet here in Portland. Come visit us and hang out with us for the last hour of the show. And you meet Sean, you meet Nate, you meet me, and we're pretty much the ones who are, physically here. Occasionally Chase or Louise or somebody else will drop by. So that's what it is, and this is the last day. And please, last chance, call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you like Free Speech TV and hopefully this program, and make your contribution. Exclusively intended the antitrust law to deal with one very narrow type of harm. The Curse of Bigness by Tim Wu.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. It's Anything Goes Friday on our program. Your thoughts on whatever you want to talk about. My rant today over at HartmannReport.com is that the far right is basically turning. Colorado's the epicenter for this right now, but it's like the Republicans have no interest in governing. They don't want, even when they do run the government, they don't run the government. Like, the only 2 accomplishments that Donald Trump, legislative accomplishments that he had during his 4 years as president were, number one, the first bill that he signed allowed coal mining companies to dump their waste directly into rivers. So the children living downstream in those rivers, in cities that get their water supply from like the Mississippi or even smaller rivers, people who live downstream from those rivers, their children will get poisoned with mercury and cadmium, and there's even uranium and radioactive materials in coal waste. But that was his first piece of legislation. His second was a $1.5 trillion, and it turns out it was more than $2 trillion, a more than $2 trillion tax cut, 83% of which went to the top 1% of Americans and giant corporations. That's it. So when you have no commitment to actually helping improve the general welfare of the people of the country, or ensuring domestic tranquility, or providing for, the stuff that the preamble of the Constitution talks about, when you have no interest in doing that, you only have an interest in sucking up to big corporate donors and billionaires who want to, have their taxes lowered and cutting taxes, when that's really the only commitment you have, what do? You distract. You come up with phony culture wars. You get hysterical about things that don't cost billionaires a penny, so they don't mind if you get hysterical about them, whether it's abortion or whether it's, defend the police or, whatever it may be. You come up with so-called wedge issues, and what they're doing right now in Colorado, and now we've got Representative Boebert, the Republican congressman woman who I think represents QAnon for that state, coming out and saying, oh, yeah, this is terrible. The governor of the state signed a proclamation that Sunday this weekend, everybody should take a break from meat for the day. Right? It would lower the cancer rates, the heart attack rates, the stroke rates, and the high blood pressure rates, the hypertension rates in the state. Even one day without meat helps. But no. Let's turn this into a culture war. Let's get hysterical about it. Let's, you can't be macho. You can't be a man without eating meat, don't you know? Although, the thing that nobody's mentioning, probably I should have included it in my article, maybe I'll edit it after we get off the air, is the fact that if you eat a lot of cholesterol and your arteries harden up and get clogged up, you can't get erections anymore. You get erectile dysfunction. That's one of the causes of ED. And that's from eating, high saturated fat foods like meat. But, it's the macho thing to do, right? Yeah. So anyhow, that's what they're up to is trying to do culture war stuff. And it's just, it's so sad, frankly. It's just pathetic. Anyhow, let me pick up your phone calls here and see what's on your mind. Jeremiah in Coalport, Pennsylvania. Hey, Jeremiah, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, if you remember during the 2020 campaign, there was these pro-Trump commercials where someone was calling in to 911 and getting busy signals, and they're talking, and sorry, we don't have the funds,
Yeah, the police got defunded. Yeah, I got it.
Right. I propose some Democratic group make a commercial where you see a long line of people in line to vote, and someone comes up to one of the people in the line, gives them some water, maybe a pizza, and they chit-chat about how, they have to stand in a long line because their polling places were closed. And then a police officer comes and arrests a person giving the food and the water. And I think that all the people in line should be white people, and we just give the impression that the Republicans are going to do this all across America, which they probably want to do, at least,
Mm-hmm. Well, they won't do it in the white suburbs, but you're absolutely, I think it's a brilliant idea, Jeremiah. I doubt the ad council would do it, but, that would be a great suggestion for, progressive group. So thank you for that. It's great. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeremiah. I thought you were done. I heard your voice after I dumped you. Sandra, this doing the show remotely here. We're going to be back in the studio in the next couple of months, and things will get a lot cleaner. Sandra in Omaha, Nebraska. Hey, Sandra, what's up?
Hey, Tom, I'm hoping either you or maybe one of your listeners might have some advice on what we can do regarding the stimulus check. I've already gotten mine, but a family member lost his job in November of 2019. It was a good-paying job, and so some of that stimulus that he would have gotten, he didn't because of his income. But he lost his job 16 months ago, just now got a new one, and so he had no income for 2020 at all. He didn't get that $600 stimulus at all. He had to apply that towards his tax return when he filled that out this past month for last year. Mm-hmm. What I'm wondering is he's not gotten that $1,400 stimulus check either. Is there someone at the IRS that he should call and ask, where is it? Because he had no income, none.
Two suggestions, Sandra. Number one, tell him to file his 2020 tax returns at lickety-split so that he's got it documented that he had no income.
Yeah,
okay,
he's
great.
Done that.
And then number two, I don't know who represents Omaha, Nebraska, in the U.S. House of Representatives. Well, that's okay. Republicans can help out too. Just don't call up and say, "Hi, I'm a Democrat." But no, even Republicans have somebody in their office. Congress actually provides funds for this position. It's called constituent services. So what you want to do is you call 202-224-3121, get to your member of the House, and say, I'd like to speak to your constituent services person. I've got a problem with my COVID relief check, or whatever you want to call it, stimulus check. And that person can help guide you through the labyrinth and sometimes even directly connect you to people. So that's always the best and first place to start.
Yeah, because he's already gotten what little of a return he was going to get. He got that. Yeah. But the $1,400 stimulus check, not at all. So. Yeah, no, and he obviously qualifies for it. So take that step first. That's the best thing. You call the IRS and you'll end up on hold forever. Marie in New York City. Hey, Marie, what's up?
Hello there. I want to suggest that talking about cancel culture, labor and labor history has been canceled out altogether. There's no labor educations in the schools. There's a wonderful book that the UE Union in Pittsburgh put out years ago called Labor's Untold Story. And people are workers unless you're a coupon clipper. And there needs to be some kind of labor history month, or labor needs to come to, labor history needs to be taught in the schools. People are workers. I don't care if you're raking leaves or in a hospital curing brain cancer. You are a worker, and this needs to be presented in schools and across the country.
I agree, Marie. Remember the days when there used to be a labor section in the newspaper right next to the business section?
Absolutely. And there used to be the Labor Day parades. Until here
it all
in New
went
York.
away in the 80s. It all went away with Reagan. Marie, I'm sorry we're out of time, but your point is so well made. I love your accent, by the way. Your point is so well made, and this is it's going to be a state-by-state battle, I suspect. Although it's not a bad thing to ring up your member of the House of Representatives or your two senators and put the bug in their ear too. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Back with your calls on Anything Goes Friday right after this, 15 minutes past the hour. And welcome back. And let's see here. Jessica, watching Free Speech TV in Chicago. Hey, Jessica, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. I'm really fearful about the insurrectionists, that they won't get justice. Most of them are being bonded out by the wealthy Republicans already. And there's a site, it's like a GoFundMe site, and it's called GiveSendGo.com by a Christian family. The brother started it up with his two sisters, and they're bonding out all the Proud Boys. And the wealthy Republicans that fund this site, he encrypts who funds the site, so nobody knows who the money's coming from. And then there was this Republican judge on the East Coast that his son was an insurrectionist. He got him out of there immediately, and he's on home arrest. So if we can't get justice on these insurrectionists, I don't know how we're going to go up the chain to the congressmen and the senators involved, too.
Yeah. This is going to require essentially a cultural change, Jessica, and you've identified a massive issue here. This began with Ronald Reagan when he was inaugurated on January 20th, 1981, and he gave his inaugural speech, and he said, government is not the solution to your problem. Government, in fact, is the problem. And from that point to this, it has become very fashionable to trash government, to diss government, to challenge government, to say we have to have weapons in case government gets tyrannical, et cetera. And that line of reasoning has been, or that line of that kind of ahistoric thinking has been bought into by the majority of the Republican Party and even many independents and some Democrats for that matter. And the idea that challenging your democracy even at the point of a gun is an acceptable thing. And I think that we're seeing this echoed in our court system and with these people that you're talking about. And as far as I can tell, the thing that we need to do is be changing our culture. We need to start saying, no, we are our government. That is the idea of democracy. Ronald Reagan was absolutely wrong. Jessica, thank you for that. Robin in Kingston, Washington. Hey, Robin, what's up?
Morning, Tom. This call is about 3 problematic words in our future about the infrastructure: public-private partnerships. I have been concerned. Yeah, I've been very concerned about the oligarchs storing their money offshore, and I've postulated before that it's to eventually buy the infrastructure and the commons in the United States. And there needed to be an event to have that happen. I think this COVID thing, not that it was intended to do that, but the net result is that we've really, gone into quite a bit of debt to do that. So now when they move into the infrastructure, I think that these billionaires and oligarchs are going to say, oh, you don't want to raise taxes? Well, I can buy this for you. So that's just something that we have to be very careful of. Now, we got 2 great people on our side, which is Bernie and Liz Warren, okay? And Bernie, it's so clear to me now why Bloomberg stepped in and basically wiped out Bernie, because Bloomberg is part of the oligarch class, and Bernie would have no such thing as this. So anyway, it's something to keep an eye on here. Public-private partnerships. Look out.
I'm with you, Robin. These public-private partnerships have just devastated a number of states and communities around the country over the last 40 years. And, they do them with schools, they do them with other things. And you're absolutely right. It's a sneak attack. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 20 minutes past the hour. On the Science Revolution this week, Beyond Nuclear's Kevin Camps drops by. On the 10th anniversary of the Fukushima crisis, just like the COVID pandemic, opinion on Fukushima is split between those who are horrified by the health risks and those who are worried about the economic damage that nuclear power does. Investigative journalist Greg Palast drops by on how Stacey Abrams is showing real courage in Georgia with her opposition to the Vogtle nuclear plant, the last and only nuclear plant under construction in the U.S. She opposes charging Georgians ruinous electric bills to finish it. Also in Geeky Science, good news on CBD. There's a new report out showing it reduces plaque and improves cognition in rats with Alzheimer's, and hopefully soon studies will start on humans. Tune into the Science Revolution wherever fine podcasts are available. Welcome back to the True People's Media. 20 minutes past the hour. Rich in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hey, Rich, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Thanks so much. I wanted to offer people the opportunity to get behind President Biden in understanding that Vladimir Putin is a killer. He was a Stasi officer in East Germany, part of the former Soviet Union, and he learned how to suppress people, how to manipulate people. He was busy doing something called the Zersetzung project, which was pacification of uppity folks who weren't being good East Germans. When you were in Germany, was that after the wall fell, or were you?
No, we lived there from 86 to 87.
Okay, well,
and we spent part of that time in. We lived mostly in Stadtsteinach, but we spent part of that time in Herchheim, literally on the east-west German border. I mean, literally. And in the spring, the ground would thaw and the landmines would explode. It was a wild experience. And that was, I believe, that was when President Putin was running. It was in Mecklenburg, wasn't it? It was some relatively remote part of East Germany that he was involved in the Stasi there.
Okay.
As I recall, but I didn't know about that at the time. You just read the history.
the idea of today's unified Germany and what is now able to be visited and learned of the history of the country as it was under the occupation of the former Soviet Union is right over there in East Berlin at what was called the preventative prison. They've turned that into the Stasi Museum. And
I didn't know that.
There's a website that informed me a lot about Stasi and its history. It's called FightGangStalking.com, and it's a stateside site, FightGangStalking.com. And
Rich, have you ever? I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
No. I want to hear you.
Okay. So my question was: have you ever watched the movie The Lives of Others?
No.
This is an amazing movie. Yeah, this movie came out maybe a decade ago, perhaps a little longer. It was made in Germany. It's all in German, but it's subtitled, and it's really easy to follow the subtitles. And it's about a family in East Germany during the Soviet occupation, and how basically what the Stasi had done is they had they had about 1/3 of all East Germans informing on the other 2/3 of all East Germans, and everybody was terrified. Friends, neighbors, relatives. You never knew who was the snitch, and you never knew what, if you said something that you meant it completely innocently, if it would be taken wrong and reported to the Stasi, and therefore you'd be in big trouble. It's an absolutely compelling, spellbinding movie. It's a brilliant, character development, personal narrative arc. The hero of the movie is just, he's like half out of a Kafka novel or a Hemingway novel and half out of a really good thriller. The production values are brilliant. It is one of the most powerful movies I've ever seen. Now, maybe that's because I lived in Germany during that time, but I don't know where it's available. I'm guessing, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, someplace. But it's called The Lives of Others, and it is so worth taking the time to watch. Rich, I've got to move along, but you made your point, right?
The Lives of Others was shown to me as a title on FightGangStalking.com. So that's why I knew it.
Okay, there you go. Rich, thanks a lot for the call. Marty in Evergreen Park, Illinois. Hey, Marty, what's up?
Hey, Tom, sure. Thanks for taking my call. Happy Friday. I just wanted to share some thoughts on Medellin, Colombia, and how they are managing the coronavirus. I had the pleasure of spending 3 weeks there last month and was able to get away, when all the bad weather hit the Midwest. But, the way that they are managing the coronavirus, if we did half of the measures that they did over there, we would have never had as many problems with this as we do. In every point of entry, in every public space, somebody is there making sure that your hands are sanitized and that your temperature is taken and that you're properly wearing a mask. And it's just everybody just does it over there. It's really amazing, but just how different we are handling.
I have one of my oldest friends. He's somebody I went to college with. Has a house in Puerto Vallarta. He lives half the year there and half of the year near Lansing, Michigan. And he was telling me in email the other day the exact same thing. Everybody's masked up. Everybody's taking, everybody takes this seriously. The police will stop you if you're not wearing a mask. And then one of my nieces lives in Mexico, is married to a Mexican, has several children, and has lived there for a number of years. And I've been following her on Facebook mostly, and same deal. People are taking it very, very seriously in other parts of the world. It's just, this Republican ideology is just crazy. There's a piece on Raw Story right now about how people living in a fancy apartment building in Washington, D.C. that has a lot of Republican staffers in it. The Republican staffers are refusing to wear masks in the elevators. And it's got, some of the older people in this building flipped out, but there's nothing they can do. It's just this only in America, right? It's crazy.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
We'll be back with your calls. It's Anything Goes Friday here on the Thom Hartmann Program in just a moment. Stick around. So it's Friday. It's the last day. It's your last chance. I got an email in the mail this morning because I'm signed up as a donor to Free Speech TV. And if you are, you probably got the same email. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And I thought it was just so brilliantly written and so from the heart that I wanted to share it with you because this is how I feel about Free Speech TV. This is a really important television network, and we really need to keep it alive. Anyhow, here's what Howard said. He said, I've been around a long time. Many years ago, I put up the very first matching donation ever for Free Speech TV. In 2006, when my wife Lynn passed away, I gave a gift in her honor. There's a plaque honoring her at the Free Speech TV studio in sunny Denver, Colorado to this day. I wonder, does Free Speech TV mean to you what it does to me? And then he talks about the pledge drive and asks people to make a donation. And then he continues, he says, so since the first time I promised to double your donations many years ago, other viewers have stepped up as well to put on match days and challenges to inspire people like you to invest in Free Speech TV as well. Now, we even have a name. We're the Frontline Funders. Our role is to amplify your impact. This is more important than ever these days, writes Howard. That's because white supremacy continues to rear its ugly head. But our movement is stronger and broader. We must hold the Biden-Harris administration accountable and push for progressive policies that will dismantle the insidious oppression and racism that runs deep in our society. I always figured you have to start somewhere. For me, the place to start was with independent media. Independence means working toward what objectively is true, writes Howard. Putting my support toward Free Speech TV was a no-brainer. With Amy Goodman and Thom Hartmann and all the other Free Speech TV hosts working hard to find, and thank you, Howard, working hard to find and report the truth, the non-corporate, independent nature of Free Speech TV, not to mention the network's national reach, made it just the bullhorn needed. That's why I've supported Free Speech TV as much as I can throughout the years. Free Speech TV is my community, writes Howard. I promise your funds will be put hard to work to serve our mission for a more just, equitable, and sustainable world. You'll be making a difference in the lives of so many people. This is your last chance to donate to Free Speech TV's Spring Pledge Drive. I hope you're inspired to give during this week's $10,000 challenge. This is from Howard in Royal Oaks, California. And he's absolutely right. This is the last day of the last week of it's the end of the Spring Pledge Drive. If you have not given before, we are still behind. We need your help, especially if you've never contributed to free speech before. Please call now, 877-378-8669, and become a member of Free Speech TV. Become a funder of Free Speech TV. And you will be matched by these frontline funders like Howard. There's this $10,000 waiting if we can hit our goal here from Howard. So this is a big deal, and it's an important time to give. I think I've made my case throughout the last 3 weeks of what a challenge this last year and a half or so has been for Free Speech TV. They need your help right now. With the $20 one-time gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Free Speech TV Wildflower Seed Pack. With the $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV webcam cover or the tote bag. With the $75 gift, you have your choice of the Thom Hartmann Program official mug or the Free Speech TV hat. These are great gifts, by the way. With the $100 gift, you get a set of 2 Free Speech TV face masks. With a $120 gift, you have a choice of 3 things: the Grow Social Change box, the Wildflower Seed box, the Windowsill Herb Garden, the new tote, and the sunglasses, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, so you can become a one-person publicist, when you go out, or a copy of my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, autographed by the author. With a $240 gift, you have a choice. You can get both of my most recent books, The Hidden History of Oligarchy and The Hidden History of Monopoly, autographed by the author, or you can participate with us in our online meet and greet, our Zoom call, where we all get together and just chat about what's going on and what's on your mind. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Spring Box. That's the bumper sticker, the free speech bumper sticker, the Thom Hartmann bumper sticker, the seeds, the wildflower seeds, the herb garden, the window herb garden, the tote bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV sunglasses, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, Reclaiming Our Democracy from the Ruling Class. And with a $1,000 gift, come to our in-person meet and greet here in Portland. Come visit us and hang out with us for the last hour of the show. And you meet Sean, you meet Nate, you meet me, and we're pretty much the ones who are, physically here. Occasionally Chase or Louise or somebody else will drop by. So that's what it is, and this is the last day. And please, last chance, call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you like Free Speech TV and hopefully this program, and make your contribution. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. So for our Thom Hartmann Insider videotape that is over, or videotape, YouTube, whatever you want to call it, private video that's available over at ThomHartmann.com, I'm talking this week about Donald Trump just completely giving in to Erdogan of Turkey, the president of Turkey, the dictator of Turkey now. And this theory that Jared Kushner okayed the killing, at least the capture, perhaps the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, and to Mohammed bin Salman, and that Erdogan has the tape of it, and that when he called up Donald Trump a couple weeks ago and said, I want you to pull out of Syria and give me those Kurds so I can kill them and take that land, that he did it because Erdogan threatened him. And then Erdogan comes to the United States, a week or two later and gets a whole state dinner thing. Check it all out. It's over at ThomHartmann.com. I think you'll find it fascinating. And welcome back. Anything Goes Friday. Just a tip of the hat, by the way, to Jeffrey Armbruster, who tweeted to me the IRS website on how to get your payment. And it turns out I clicked back to irs.gov, which is really easy to remember if you're listening right now. Because I've had a couple of people call and say, I haven't gotten my money. How do I get my money? Right? And if you click through, if you go to irs.gov, literally the top button that you can click is Get My Payment. So start there. I've been telling people, file your taxes, call your congressman or woman. You can do all that stuff, but you might want to start at irs.gov, assuming that you have access to the internet, and reasonable access to the internet. So, picking up your phone calls, Terry in Maywood, Illinois. Hey, Terry, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom. Good afternoon. I was thinking about how we can help resolve this so-called situation at the border, since Biden closed the border with the ones that's coming in. We got the kids' crises. How about maybe the Dreamers can help sponsor some of those kids, and maybe that would enhance them to become citizenships, since, we all have to, rise to the occasion. I don't know,
yeah.
Just food for thought, Tom.
I think you may be onto something, Terry. What's happening, apparently, is that Republicans have been, before the election, they were saying that if Biden was elected, he was going to open the border. And after Biden was elected, Republicans were running around with their hair on fire, screaming that Biden was going to open the border. And since President Biden has been sworn in on January 20th, Republicans have been repeatedly going on television and on radio saying that Biden opened the border. Biden never did that. It's a complete lie. But it's being echoed in newspapers in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and it's causing families, particularly of young sons who are in their teenage years, but old enough to kind of stand on their own 2 feet, as it were, to try to get them into the United States right away, hoping that they can get into the Dreamer program because they know what's going on with this. These people are not stupid; they know what's going on. And if the Republicans would just stop lying about this and stop yelling in the media that Biden has opened the border, of course, they're not going to stop doing that because they are trying to create a crisis at the border so that they can use that to trash President Biden. I mean, it's so transparent what's going on here, Terry. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's all I want to say, Tom. But that's one way they probably can just deal with the children crisis. You know what I'm just saying?
Yeah.
And then
some of the dreamers might make great. They might
put it back at their plate. All right, thanks. Tom.
Might make. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, they might make great foster parents, and or something like that. I don't know the nuance of it, but Keno in Lakeland, Florida. Hey, Keno, how's our ex-Republican?
Yes, okay. Tom, I want you to come up with some clever names, or some of your viewers, for the 3 types of Republicans. Now, MSNBC said about 2 weeks ago 120,000 Republicans have renounced their membership in the Republican Party across the nation. So we got to come up with a name for them. Now, there's the ones that are staying in the Republican Party and worship Trump still as the cult, and I call them the black tongues. And then there are those Republicans that are trying to say put Trump out of the party, out to pasture. And I call them the lions that are trying to bring a pride back to the Republican Party in honor of Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt. And John McCain, by the way, for the honor of John McCain, the Republican Party, those members that are going to drop Trump, the lions are. But what could be some good, clever names for the 3 type of Republicans?
Yeah, or the cons. I would not use the word black as a negative descriptor, Keno. That's something that I think we should leave in our past as history rather than contemporary times. But and I'm not clever enough to come up with these things right off the top of my head, but I do get what you're saying. That you've got the Republicans who are the Trump worshipers, you've got the Republicans who are staying in the party like Mitt Romney, hoping that it will regain its sanity and just go back to being the party of kind of wealthy guys. And then you've got the Republicans who have left the party, the Steve Schmitz of the world, who say that there's nothing, and I believe you, Keno, saying that the party basically has nothing left to offer me. I don't have slick names for you, but other than suggesting that you come up with something else to describe the negative guys. But I'm with you. I'm with you. Thank you very much, Keno. It's always nice to hear from you. Diana in Preston, Idaho. Hey, Diana, what's up?
Hi, Tom. Hey, I wanted to talk about sexual taboos. The ancient kings. The ancient kings and aristocracy and religious leaders too spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to control and manipulate the masses. And they found one of the most effective ways was to create sexual taboos, which led to oppression. The basic function of a taboo is to so cripple the mind of its victims with intimidation as to make them incapable of correctly identifying the facts. And the royal families had no sexual taboos. They needed fodder for their wars, and they understood if a man was happy at home, he's not so anxious to leave his wife and family to fight some king's war. But if he's unhappy at home and his wife is turned into a shrew because she's unhappy, he can't wait to leave home to murder, rape, and pillage.
It's an interesting theory. I always saw this in the realm of religion rather than governance. For example, this is from today's New York Times. It's about this murderer who killed 6 Asian women and 2 other people down in Georgia. The first paragraph, he checked himself into a rehab clinic for a self-described sexual addiction. He was so intent on avoiding pornography that he blocked websites from his computer and only used a flip phone. He worried to a roommate about falling out of God's grace. His former roommate says that he lived with him at a halfway house near Atlanta. Nearly once a month, the killer would admit that he had again relapsed by visiting a massage parlor for sex, his roommate said. and he once asked his roommate to take his computer away from him. I mean, this is which doesn't make him any less of a murderer and doesn't make this any less of a racial crime. But the point is that, you know, this is what religion can do to people when it's used as a weapon, when it's weaponized. And I'm seeing, you know, religion being used in this way, you know, just, you know, twisting people sexually. And I think that it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. And then you get the hypersexualization in the minds of these white men about Asian women, and that just, you know, puts it on steroids, as it were. Carrie in New Windsor, New York, you wanted to speak to this issue?
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. That woman is amazing. That's wow. And your updated news about what they found out about the Georgia femicide, that murderer. That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Tom. I looked into it. I've been keeping up on it a little bit. Just quick with that woman, what she just said, you know, the people in power have always been less in numbers than the masses. So the people in power have always done stuff throughout history to suppress the masses. So if you want to make sex taboo, that's perfect, because then you're thinking about it more, and you can't just like relieve yourself and like then go on with your day. You're like totally sexually frustrated and just a mess, right? And like just not able to like function better as well. You know, these men. I got sexually harassed so many times this month. I can't even tell you by people I know. I'm like, this is Women's History Month, and I got sexually harassed multiple times verbally, right? Multiple times. And I just like, I'm so tired of it. And anyway, so the woman earlier today who said that, if we want more women to be leaders, then we have to talk about women's issues more. And I agree. And, like this guy, right, he doesn't know. I know so many hippies and hicks that are and were 21 years old. When I was 21 years old, I thought that news was mind clutter. They don't pay attention to the news, you know, like especially if they're like uneducated. Why should they? The news is like negative and gross, the TV news, you know, so, mostly. And there's a newspaper called Positive News, by the way, so it doesn't have to be all negative fires and, you know, car accidents. But all right, so right in front of me, I have the kid was...
I got it. I'm sorry, Carrie, we're out of time. I was going to say, I always thought that Queen Victoria, who imposed all those taboos on the British, did so because she had been, like, you know, raped or something when she was younger. I wonder, though, given the previous caller and Carrie's comments, I wonder if it was a way of social control.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
I don't know that much about the history of Victorian England, and particularly the sexual mores of the time, but it's a fascinating question. We'll be right back. And welcome back. James in Seattle. Hey, James, what's on your mind today?
Hi, I think I can tie in abortion, incel, and billionaires together.
Okay.
There's a big... I'll try to do it quickly here. In the Old Testament, there's only one thing about that. God gives man, the husband, the contractor, the right to determine the value of the fetus that was... And...
Correct.
And that's what they're trying to ban.
If the woman is struck by another man which causes her to miscarry, then the husband gets to decide how much he has to be paid for that. Yes, you're right. It's in Deuteronomy.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying. That's what they're trying to ban. That right to determine the value of the fetus.
Yeah.
And as Paul of Woodinville indicated, it's a double-edged sword. If you make a law that gives the state the right to ban that medical procedure, because it doesn't stop there. Because then, besides making her a slave, it also gives them the right to enforce a medical procedure like sterilization. And this is exactly what they did to those Latino girls at the border detention center in Georgia, where the ICE...
And it's what we did to Native Americans for over 100 years, all across the United States.
Yeah, and that's what they want. And not only that, but the establishment at that center got rid of the evidence for them. That's what the incels want. Mm-hmm. Now, the billionaire class comes into this because they need to have lots of people who are generational poor, because the top 20% gets half of the income, and that's the kind of capitalism that's functional.
Yeah, it's actually less than the top 1% that has about half the wealth in the United States. I don't know about income. Forgive the interruption, James.
Yeah, well, I'm saying the top 20%, they get half of it. Mm-hmm. Now today, of course, so what's your point? The predatory one is getting 43%, or last time I checked. That means the bottom 80% gets only 7%. That's what they want. That's why the police squeeze everybody and that kind of stuff, because they're making people poor. That's what they're doing for the billionaire class, because they're not. And the billionaire class of 666 families doesn't actually do anything. They're not a $250,000 a year manager probably could do a better job, except for a few of these billionaires.
Yeah, and yeah, so I get it, James. I'm going to stop you there. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your opinions, and I can't disagree on most of them. I do want to point out, and I wrote about this a couple of days ago over at HartmannReport.com, that back in the 50s, Republican philosopher Russell Kirk said if the middle class gets too wealthy, it's going to create social chaos. And in the 60s, when you had the women's movement, the civil rights movement, and the anti-war movements all happened at the same time, that was the moment when the Republicans decided we've got to take the middle class down a notch. These people are too wealthy. They're feeling too brave. They're out there protesting in the streets. The women, African Americans, young people, we've got to stop them. And they put Ronnie Reagan in office and gave him the mandate of stripping out some of the wealth of the American middle class, which he did, largely through destroying unions and lowering taxes on rich people. We'll be back. Get my daily writings, where I take on the big picture issues of our day, at HartmannReport.com. So people wonder, why militias all of a sudden? How is it that all kinds of Americans are showing up with assault weapons in the Capitol building, trying to assassinate the Vice President of the United States and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and stop the counting of the presidential votes, the Electoral College votes? Where did this come from? You know, the last time we saw an armed uprising against the federal government in the United States was 1861. It was the Confederacy. Is this a Confederacy rising again? Well, yeah, there is a huge white supremacist element to it. In fact, I'd say it's one of the primary animating impulses. But what really got these things going, these militias going, was the Heller decision written by the opinion written by Antonin Scalia and published on June 26, 2008. And it has crazy language in it, basically begging for militias. I share it with you in a special video over at ThomHartmann.com. Check it out. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you and Denise in Calumet, Michigan. Hey, Denise, what's on your mind today?
Well, I just wanted to tell you, our little town of Calumet has been overrun by Republican Trumpsters, and we had a cafe on 5th Street that refused to close during the shutdown, and they refused to mask, refused to social distance, and refused to have their employees do so. It got to the point where she was on one of those fund me pages, Go Send Fund or whatever that was mentioned earlier today, mm-hmm. And it got to the point that these people with their trucks and their automatic weapons were standing outside, and they were protecting her and her brothers from even having to close the place, and the authorities in our area personally told me that they weren't going to go and shut them down, even though they were told to. They actually gave the name of the person that was ticketing them from the health department and put her life in danger. And people, you know, when the guns were out there, people in the other stores were kind of like locking their doors and not letting anybody in. They brought imminent danger to our town, not just by spreading COVID, but by having our town turn into what the authorities told me was a powder keg. And if they had come and tried to close her, there would have been shooting and death in our little town of Calumet. Eventually, she got ticketed, finally made an agreement to close, but she was open for months on end. And this is what our town has become. It's really, it's scary. And everybody's like, but this is part of a Lutheran church where they believe that they have to keep multiplying because they're the only ones going to heaven. And so all these people are like overtaking our town. It's just really scary.
That's so sad. And you know, one of the things that is really pushing this stuff is Facebook, and it's Russian trolls on Facebook. And not just Russian, actually. Apparently Saudi trolls are pushing this stuff as well. You know, of your government, you know, the masks don't do any good, and it's all made up, and it's all a hoax, and you know, all this kind of BS that they're pushing. And you've got these you know, low-income folks. Well, actually, they're not all low-income. Let's say high gullibility folks. I don't even want to insult their IQs because some of them are smart. But they believe what they read, and it's really sad. Denise, thank you for the update. I'm so sorry to hear, and I hope that Calumet can get back to normal along with the rest of America. I just pray that you know, that's our future. Richard in Stockton, Montana. Hey, Richard, what's up?
Howdy, I'm a cattle rancher, Montana Army veteran, and by the way, I have no use for the bubble militia. But it seems after the Civil War, the disaffected Confederates enabled themselves to get into the rural states and take over. Instead of genocide against blacks, they went after Native American tribes. But I want to go back to the Founding Fathers. I think they set up rural America in their vision with the Electoral College and 2 senators per rural state. So where would those Founding Fathers, especially the ones from the South, sit on the filibuster? What would you think they'd say about that now?
They would be universally opposed to it because they were at the time. Madison and Hamilton both wrote extensively about the importance that both the House and the Senate operate along majority rules. It wasn't until Madison was dead, he was long dead by, I think it was 1837, 1838, when John C. Calhoun, the father of the Confederacy, introduced the filibuster into the Senate rules. All of the founders were dead by that time. They would have been just plain old flat out horrified by it, Richard.
Well, what would the SCOTUS say about that if they're originalist thinking like Scalia, saying it's not in the Constitution, you know?
Well, God only knows what Scalia would say, but I think I think your point is.
I have no use for the bubble militia. I'm a retired colonel, and they are just scum of the earth, in my opinion. So.
Well, we have a problem. We have a problem with people who think that you know that they are the military and they're not. Richard, thank you very much for the call.
All right,
Thanks for the thoughtful call from rural Montana. Appreciate it. Kirk in Longwood, Colorado, Loveland, Colorado. Excuse me. Hey, Kirk, you got the last minute.
What's up? Colorado. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, every time I see these guys on television in the Senate, like Rand Paul and Johnson and these guys, I flash back to the first 6 or 7 months of the Trump administration when these guys actually flew over to Russia and met with Putin.
On the 4th of July.
I'm wondering...
they celebrated the 4th of July in Russia. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, please, there are a lot of people I know that really aren't sure about anything like that. Can you just explain that? And I'll get off the air so you can go ahead and talk.
Well, you can just look it up. You know, the Republicans flew to.
I was just curious.
And it wasn't a secret. It was in the newspapers. They never talked to, you know, none of them, to the best of my knowledge, ever came out and said what they did. But I know Ron Johnson was part of that delegation. I believe Rand Paul was. But it was a bunch of Republicans who went to Russia for the 4th of July. And it was like, gee, what a great way to celebrate the 4th of July. Kirk, I got to run. I'm sorry, but thank you for the call. It's the end of the show. It's the end of the week. So special thanks to Louise Hartman, Sean Taylor, Nate Atwell, Janie Holly, Joyce the Hammer, Nance, Nigel Peacock, Sue Nethercutt, Patrick Hoyt, Geraldine Halbert, Ron Hartenbaum, Chase Spross, Nicholas Miller, Pat Sweeney, Jabbermocky, and Jay LeBlanc. Thank you so much for helping keep this program going and all of our affiliates and all the ways that you can get this show. Thank you so much. And to you, don't forget, democracy requires you. Get out there, get active, tag, you're it. If you're wondering where your $1,400 is, go to irs.gov and have a great weekend. Be good to yourself and people around you. We'll see you on Monday.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are Gabi.com. Gabi takes the pain out of shopping for insurance. More info at Gabi.com/Tom. Teeth, Smarter Pet Dental Help. More info at teethhealth.com, code Tom. HelloFresh, delivering fresh ingredients and mouthwatering recipes. More info at hellofresh.com, code Tom. Bowl and Branch, crafted for the common good. More information at bowlandbranch.com, code Tom. ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More info at expressvpn.com/Tom. And CB Distillery, CBD for sleeping. More info at cbdistillery.com, code Tom.